Welcome to the Foul Play YouTube channel, Reading with the Crew.
Hey guys, welcome. Thank you so much for that introduction, Jack61. It's great to be here. Thank you so much for joining us today in our series that we're doing, Reading with the Crew. And today I have the pleasure to present, or we have the pleasure to present, part 26. Now, if you've been following the series that we've been doing, we're reading chapters from John Ferak's book, The Wrecking Crew. And at the moment, we're doing a very, very interesting chapter. I hope you guys will agree. It is actually part 3. So if you're following John Ferak's book, it's chapter 14, entitled Canine Noses. And Neville and I have put together some research for this particular chapter. And I think you can tell that we have greatly expanded upon what John Ferak has written. It's given us a great opportunity, I think, to bring in what we consider here on the panel, right, guys? Some of the most important investigators. They're the ones that had 4 legs. And the importance of the canines are twofold. The canines don't lie, and the canines don't hate Stephen Avery. They don't have an agenda, right, guys? And so it's our pleasure to bring to you today, part 3. We can't promise we're going to finish part 3 today. We don't want to rush it. There really is so much. And it's so great to see everyone in chat. We've got a lot of people here already. My name is Dr. Silkman, and I'm from the Foul Play team. I'm not going to waste too much time. I want to get straight onto this chapter, but just a few things. Please, guys, don't forget that this is John Ferak's book that we're reading from, The Wrecking Crew. All of us here on the panel agree that it's an excellent book to sink your teeth into, especially if you're new to the case, right? And so these are his words, his opinions, but however, we're adding additional material to his chapter. We're vastly expanding it. And the research that the team has done has really uncovered a lot of very important points. And today we're going to reveal the shenanigans that took place, not only at Cuss Road, but at other locations around the Avery salvage yard. It's really been an eye-opening experience. It really, really has. Well, look, guys, if you like what we do, please subscribe to our channel. Give us a thumbs up. Put your DNA on the thumbs up button. I promise Cherie Colhane will come nowhere near your DNA. Give us a like if you enjoy our podcast. And please share our podcast, share our channel throughout the community. I've been getting a lot of good feedback via Twitter. I've never been on Twitter before, but it's great. I've got a couple of followers, which is awesome. And share the love. Share the love. If you've got something that you want to announce on the Foul Play, one of our podcasts, please bring it forward and we'll share it as well. I'd like to thank all our fantastic mods and super mods and all the people that work behind the background scenes, right? We have an extensive Discord channel. We have an extensive library, and there are many people here who put in a lot of time, energy, and effort, unsung heroes that put everything together. And our library has received a lot of views, hits, and we like to share our documents so that you can come up with your own conclusions. That's very, very important. I'd like to welcome everybody in chat that's here at the moment. There's a lot of people in chat, and that's absolutely awesome. The only thing that the Foul Play team asks of its audience is please be respectful to one another. If you've got a theory or something like that, come along to our Discord channel, discuss it there, right? Don't argue it in chat. And the final point is we also have family members that come to our channel, which is awesome. We often have Barb come in. I'm sure there are others who are lurking as well. Please be respectful to them, right? The Foul Play team does this. We all do it for free. We all put in our time for free. We love what we do. We're doing this for the memory of Teresa Hallbach, who for the new people was tragically taken at a tender age of 25 years old. We want to find the truth. We want to find out what happened, no matter where the chips may lie. Right, guys? Wherever the chips may lie, we want to find out what happened. As a team, the Foul Play team believes that the investigation that was done was a shocking one, terrible. And we believe that the investigators are hiding important information. There are many things that you'll see in this podcast were found, but they're not disclosing what they found, right? And I remember Susan last week said an incredible question, right, Susan, about why didn't the state try and rope Stephen in to murdering Teresa Hallbach at Cuss Road? Susan,
Yeah.
do you want to have any comments? Because that did my head in. It was just such a fantastic question. Do you have any other additional comments? Yep, go for it.
Not really, but it would have been very feasible. I mean, it wouldn't be hard to say that Stephen actually took her over there, if they did in fact find her there. So it just leads me to believe that they must have found something that pointed towards someone else. I don't know.
Yep, unbelievable. And of course, their scenario and theory didn't fit. And don't worry, guys, we will definitely be visiting Cuss Road. But there's also another location in another quarry, which I knew very little about, which we'll cover as well. There are plenty of shenanigans, that is for sure. Well, look, guys, I don't want to waste any more time. Again, guys, thank you so much for your support. So let's start. I want to introduce our esteemed panel today who's joined us. First of all, we have Alice. Alice, how's things coming along?
Hi, Doc. Hi, everyone in chat. Yeah, doing okay, not too bad. Looking forward to seeing what other slides that you have added, because there was quite a few from last week, so I dread to think how many more you've handed over, but looking forward to it.
Correct. Thank you so much, Alice. Much, much appreciated. Next, we have, I don't recall how things coming along.
Pretty good. I want to say hi to everybody and welcome to Reading with the Crew. Looking forward to it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, I don't recall. And thank you for all your help and all the documents that you get for the team. Fantastic. Top shelf stuff. Next we have, thank you. Next we have Susan. Susan, how things coming along?
Doing great, Doc. Got a new computer. It's a sunny day here, warm weather. I'm loving it. Spring is on the way. Yay.
Fantastic. Thank you so
Welcome,
much, Susan.
everyone.
Yes, good to see you here. Next we have Jack 61. Jack 61, how are things coming along?
Doing very well, Doc. And I want to say, obviously, hello to everyone here on the panel and certainly everyone in the live chat. And speaking of new computers, so do I. I had one too. I just couldn't help myself. Anyway, it's been fun the last several days getting this set up and getting everything transitioned. So it's wonderful. I love it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jack 61.
And by the way, Alice, it's only 12 new slides, so it's not too bad.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jack 61. And we welcome back my partner in crime, Neverly. Neverly, good to see you here. How things coming along?
Thank you, boss.
Thank you, boss.
Things are great. Things are great. I'm glad to be back. I re-listened the podcast from last week while you guys are doing all this hard work and in-depth work. I was partying. I threw a party for my son, who came home after a year and a half and went off for another year. So it was Mama was happy. How about that?
Fantastic. And welcome back. Welcome back to the
Thank you.
Madness and chaos. Fantastic. Look, Alice, would you like to call out all the lovely people that we've got in chat so far and to welcome everyone? It's awesome to see everybody here.
Yeah, sure, Doc. I'll just scroll at the top here. We've got Mystic Jinx. Hi, Mystic Jinx. Nice to see you here. We've got the lovely Dark Side. Susan's also in the chat. We've got Maz. We've got West Virginia. Hello, West Virginia. Lovely to see you. We've got Neverly. We've got Anthony Hills. We've got Angie Dickinson. Hello, Angie. It's lovely to see you back with us.
Fantastic.
Prism Studio has jumped into the chat. We've got, who else have we got here? We've got Andy B. We've got Cher. We've got Crockett. Hi, guys. We've got
Welcome.
Pete Moss. We have Anthony says. We've got Little Barb, who's joined us in chat. Hi, Little Barb. Lovely to see you. We've got
Welcome.
Double D who's joined us. Hi, Double D. Great to see you here. We're all doing good, thanks. And that's it for now, Doc.
Fantastic. And if you're in the Southern Hemisphere and you're in my time zone, a happy Easter to everyone if you celebrate Easter, or maybe tomorrow for you guys in America and elsewhere. A happy Easter. It's so great that you have joined us. Fantastic. All right, guys.
Happy
Well,
Easter to you, Dr. Silkman. You're ahead of us, right?
Yes,
You're
I
in the
am.
picture. Happy Easter.
Thank you. It is Sunday morning here. It's 7:45 in the morning, and it's great to be here. As Jack61 put up, the offensive language warning. Look, sometimes, guys, we do get passionate, and we might let out the occasional F-bomb. Please, if you're offended by that, put your fingers in your ears, but we'll try and be as civil as possible. So, guys, I reckon what we do, unless there are any announcements, guys, I reckon we can start the podcast proper. Is everybody happy with that? Yeah, everyone happy with that?
Mhm.
And people in chat, guys, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat and we'll try and answer them as best as possible during the podcast, guys. We value your questions. Also, please say yes or no if you've enjoyed the format that we've done. With the reading with the crew, how we've put in additional documents. I mean, just reading the chapters is fine, but guys, I think you'll admit we've added so much more to the chapters, and I believe that we've enriched the content. And if John Ferak ever writes a second edition, right, guys, he needs to come and see us because we can definitely fill in the blanks, so to speak. So, guys, let us know if you've enjoyed the podcast, how they've gone so far. All right. Jack61, are we ready to start on slide number 1? We'll just wait for Jack61 to put it up. So these are additional slides. One thing that I have been getting a lot of questions, people really love the dogs, the canines, and they've been asking a lot of really good questions. You know, what are the cadaver dogs? What are the scent dogs? And so what I did, I found the GLSAR handbook from 2005. This particular team here, this particular crew, was present on the Avery salvage yard, and they bought their cadaver dogs. And remember, guys, it was the investigators that called in the cadaver dogs and also the scent dogs. And I've got a lot of questions about the cadaver dogs and the scent dogs. So if we have a look at their particular manual, right, this is what they've said about the cadaver dogs. Neverly, are you happy to read? Can you see the slide? Can you see slide 1?
Yes.
Are you happy to read this out? So this is from the actual handbook from 2005, Neverly.
Cadaver recovery or human remains detection dogs look for and indicate on human remains in a variety of settings, including water work. These dogs are trained to alert on the decomposition scent that is associated with cadaver scent. On land, the dogs can locate shallow grave sites as well as the surface recoveries. On drowning calls, the dogs work out of boats and indicate the scent at the surface of the water.
Okay, thank you so much, Neverly. So, guys, you can clearly see here in their own handbook and manual what the cadaver dogs actually smell. They smell the scent of decomposition, the so-called cadaver scent. And isn't it interesting, guys, how these cadaver dogs, I quote, are also used to locate shallow grave sites, right? Shallow Jack 61.
Yeah,
Do you have a comment?
Well, it is very interesting, and I think it goes back to, when you were talking about how powerful the olfactory sense is for a dog last week.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's absolutely insane, and you never think about it, but there you go.
Correct. And there was a question, I think, by Double D about the dogs. Yeah, Alice, you want to read it out?
Double D, she's asking, we know the dogs were at the door of Chuck's residence. Did law enforcement ever search the residence?
They actually did. So one of the dogs, I think it was a cadaver dog, hit on Chucky's front door, and the dogs actually went through his trailer. And I believe they encountered a hit on a pile of clothing, correct me if I'm wrong, and also on blood on a couch. And they cut out the blood spot from a couch. But the analysis by Cherie Cohane found nothing nefarious. In other words, nothing hit on Teresa Hallbark. But it's very interesting that the dogs hit on Chucky's front door. Now remember, a cadaver dog are non-specific, right? That's the important point. A cadaver dog is not specific for Teresa Hallbark. A cadaver dog smells human decomposition and decay. So when you lose blood from your body, your blood starts to decay immediately. So quite clearly, you think about it, if you've ever shaved or abrased yourself against something and you've bled, potentially a cadaver dog can scent or pick up the smell of that blood. And that's exactly what happened. I believe it was a cadaver dog that hit on Chucky's front door. They allowed the dog to come in. The dog went to a couch and several piles of clothing, but nothing nefarious was found. Alice, do you have a comment?
Just before we actually get started, we've got Catnip and Ruth Robinson. Hi, Ruth. Nice to see you again. Have both joined us in chat now. I just wanted to slip them in before we go. Darkside says, did the dogs hit in Stephen's trailer in the bathroom? I can't mind.
Yes, they did. Last week, we revealed the shenanigans involving Remika, right, guys?
Yeah.
Brutus was actually taken into Stephen Avery's trailer. And the amazing thing is they were in there for 5 minutes with Brutus. And Brutus is a trained cadaver dog, highly trained cadaver dog. Brutus is one of their best canines, right? Brutus went in, according to Deidring, with Remika. Deidring went in, and Brutus and the dog handler, Julie Kramer. The dog gave an alert. And what Brutus does when he detects blood or human decomposition, he actually barks, actually barks. And Brutus did a hit in Stephen Avery's bathroom. Brutus was also taken into Stephen Avery's master bedroom. Now wait for it, were there any hits? Jack 61, were there any hits in the master bedroom?
Not a one.
Not one. There were no hits, right? And so from what Brendan said that allegedly they did to Teresa Hallbark, Stephen's master bedroom, despite him trying to clean it, it would have lit up like a Christmas tree for a cadaver dog. Brutus did not hit or give any alerts in the master bedroom, but he gave a hit in the bathroom. And we already know, of course, what happened. The three amigos later on went inside Stephen Avery's trailer, Lenk, Colburn, and Remika, and they started playing crime scene detectives, and they collected a lot of blood spots within the trailer. So it's remarkable that a Brutus did not give any hits in Stephen Avery's master bedroom or elsewhere, but gave a bark and alert inside the bathroom area. Bathroom laundry combination. And that's exactly where Stephen said, hey, I cut myself before I went to Menards. I went back in my trailer, washed up, some blood obviously dripped, and there was also blood on a door, etc., etc. Jack 61, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I guess you guys have seen the scaling for whatever reason on this is not exactly right. I've tried to expand it to cover the full screen, and it's not letting me do it. So it's something I'm going to have to mess with. I apologize. It's not completely full screen, but no worries. I will get it fixed eventually. Maybe not tonight, but soon.
Correct. No problems at all, Jack 61. Thank you so much for all the work that you do. Everyone appreciates it. All right, so guys, we looked at the handbook. We know exactly what they detect. I've got a lot of questions about the scent of death. Now, remember, guys, when we're alive, all of us have a unique smell. When we die, we all smell the same. Jack 61, can we have a look at slide number 2? Now, I found this on the internet while I was searching for the so-called the smell of death. Exactly what are the molecules that a cadaver dog actually detects? And I was really surprised here that all human beings undergo 4 different stages of decay, of decomposition. And I'm not going to go through all of them. You can see them on screen. But the most important point is this: decay, decomposition starts immediately. Immediately. Upon death, you start to decompose. On a small scale, but decomposition occurs immediately. So if you are alive, you're a living person, and you shed blood, the blood that you've shed starts to decay and decompose. That's why a cadaver dog can detect it. So a human body undergoes 4 stages of decomposition, right? And it's incredible. But scientists know that when a human body decomposes, over 400 volatile compounds are produced. That is, these are the compounds that cause smell. Now, remember what Jack 61 said. The impressive thing about cadaver dogs is their massive sense of smell. So they can detect these compounds, these volatile compounds, of which there are over 400. And I was amazed they actually know the chemistry of these compounds. And you may see in the literature that cadaver dogs can smell and detect molecules like cadaverine, putrescine, scatoli, and indole. So because a dog's nose is so sensitive, can detect smell from a great distance away, the cadaver dog is trained to detect these chemicals. Guys, in chat and on the panel, are you guys impressed? Yes or no? That a dog, I think it was Neverly who said a couple of weeks ago that the nose of these canines is like a supercomputer. It can detect the smell of death. Guys, are you impressed? Jack 61.
Absolutely, Doc. It's insane the level of detection of what they, we just see, play with our dog and, love on him, feed him or whatever, let him outside, boom. These things can smell just an unreal amount of stuff.
Correct, 100% correct. And my understanding is that some of the cadaver dogs themselves are trained using cadaverine, right? So it's a chemical that can be synthesized. It's got it actually smells like rotting flesh, right? That's pretty nasty stuff. So the important underlying point here, guys, is that the cadaver dogs are trained to detect human decomposition, not animal decomposition, right? So that's the very, very important point. So guys, do we have any questions so far?
I just have a comment.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Neverly. Yes.
Well, thank you very much for doing the chemistry of the smell of death, because
No, not at all.
we think that we know stuff, but when you think about it, it's like, how does that actually work? So this is really a great illustrator to understand better what we're talking about. So thank you.
Thank you. And I think it is important, guys. I'm sorry that we've expanded upon what's in the chapter, but I believe that this information is very important to have, because therefore you know the shenanigans that the investigators pulled. That's very, very important. These dogs detect the smell of death. Susan.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the fresh stage begins almost immediately. Enzymatic
Correct.
breakdown of cells and tissue. Autolysis
Correct.
begins. So yeah, we were talking about, the blood, and can
Correct.
they detect blood, and I think that's where
Yes.
that comes in.
Correct. So the important thing is this, right? Your blood has to be in your body. Your blood is not meant to be out of your body, right? So that's why when a phlebologist takes your blood, they have to put it into special tubes under specific conditions. Otherwise, your red blood cells, white blood cells will start breaking down immediately. So that's why when Stephen Avery bled, he was very much alive. And he bled in his trailer and he touched certain surfaces, the cadaver dog picked it up, right? And that's why the cadaver dogs, when they searched the Avery salvage yard, they searched the entire Avery salvage yard and they gave hits on certain vehicles in the salvage yard in which individuals were involved in car accidents, and the dogs picked them up, right? So that goes to show how sensitive the noses of these cadaver dogs are, and scent dogs as well. All right, so guys, are we all happy about that? Okay.
Very.
Jack 61, can we have the next slide, please? All right.
Double D has a question, Dr. Silkman. I think we
let's
went
go
over
for it.
this, but we'll read it.
Yeah.
Could the dogs be used today to smell the quarry? If so, should Kathleen do this?
Look, there's no question. I was actually very, very surprised on how sensitive the noses of these dogs are, and the fact that they can pick up scents decades later, right? Decades later. But remember, if you were going to do this again, there's one problem, and that is the Horbach family would have to give an item of clothing to Kathleen Zellner for the scent. Does anyone on the panel believe that the Horbach family will actually give any items of clothing to Kathleen Zellner? Alice, yes or no? And people in chat, do you think the Horbach family will comply with Kathleen Zellner?
No. No, I don't.
Yep.
They've not said or done anything so far, Doc, so no, I don't think so.
Okay, thank you. I don't recall. Yes or no? Do you think that they will comply?
No, I don't think so either.
Okay. Susan?
Probably not, but it's kind of hard to know what the Hallbachs are thinking, as they're very quiet.
They are extremely quiet. Yep. Thank you, Susan. Jack 61, do you think that they would comply?
I really doubt it, Doc. I'm with Susan. It's hard to know what they're thinking, but I really doubt it. I mean, what we've seen to date so far. So.
Yep. And thank you, Jack 61. And what about you, Neville? Do you think that the family would comply?
You know, my first answer is, of course, no. However, it doesn't hurt to ask. What are you going to say? No? Okay, And then my second question is, could they use the same shoes for the smell?
If the scent has been preserved,
But how do you preserve a smell?
Basically they would have to put it in an airtight container, right?
Okay.
But nothing will beat having a fresh scent. But then again, Teresa Horbach, she passed away in 2005.
Yeah.
So it's quite a long time ago. So even if there are articles of clothing, will they still contain the scent, right? So if Forsky or Fausk has preserved the shoes and the items of what she took out, the gauze, it may be worth a try. But I dare say that they would need the permission of the Horbach family in order to do it, right?
Really? Even if it's
I think so.
Being admitted as evidence? What about everything else?
I don't know. I think that they would need permission in order to do it. Plus, think about it. Would Josh Rodon give permission for cadaver dogs and scent dogs to go on his property, in his quarries? Would that family allow the dogs to go near Cuss Road? Because remember, that occurred on someone's private land. So there are a lot of impediments. Jack 61.
I'm sorry, Doc. Speaking of this whole thing and what the Faust used, I think that I actually had a little bit of a conversation, actually pretty recently. I don't think we know where those shoes ended up.
No, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't think we do. I don't think they just kind of just disappeared.
There were actually two pairs of shoes, and I think there were tennis shoes as well. So basically,
tennis shoes and hiking shoes or something.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. And what Faust did was she took sterile gauze and put it in the toes, the toe region, and put the shoes in a proper container and left it in her car. So maybe she still got the gauze kept in an airtight container. And I'll tell you what, it'd be worth trying because as we discussed a couple of weeks ago, there was this infamous case, the Black Dahlia, that occurred, I think, in the 50s or 40s or 50s. And they used a cadaver dog, and the cadaver dog actually started to hit behind this infamous doctor in Hollywood. So the owners didn't allow the cadaver dog inside their house. But this murder occurred like 50, 60 years ago, and the cadaver dog was showing activity at this guy's
Through
house.
The cement. Through
Correct.
the cement. Yeah.
Correct. And guys, as I said to you, and as I showed you before, the cadaver dogs are excellent at detecting shallow graves. So if someone has been buried in a shallow grave, the cadaver dogs will hit on it, right? And you're not going to believe what Brutus hit upon at Cuss Road, right? So it goes to show, Neverly.
Sorry. When you said would Radant allow cadaver dog to go back on his property, but if it's ordered through court, if Zellner obtained like a court order, then he wouldn't have a choice.
That's potentially true, but if there's any sort of like legal arguments, this can go on for years, right, Jack 61?
True.
These court cases can go on for years. And what I can't understand is if I was the parents, the Horbach family, I would want to know where the rest of my daughter is. Because remember, they only recovered about 40-50% of her skeletal remains. They're somewhere. Susan, do you have a comment? Yes.
Well, yes, I know that Cuss Road is not owned by Radant, right?
No, it's
That's not his
no,
property.
No, it's not
and
his property.
Also the south, the gravel pit south of Avery's. I don't know if that's Radant or not. Is that Radant's?
No, it's not. That's back then it belonged to Mitchell's Sand and Quarry. It belonged to a different family. I'm not sure whether Radant has now bought it, but in my opinion, my humble opinion, it's definitely worth checking out those properties again using the cadaver and scent dogs.
Were there any alerts at all on Radant's property?
Yes, there were. Yes, there were, which is very, very interesting, and we'll get to it. Thank you so much there, Susan. And Neverly, did you have a comment?
Yes, I did. Thank you so much. Couple of things. Nobody knows what's going on with the Holbachs. It's been 17, 18 years by now?
Yes.
However, why would they object if there's still trial going on?
Well, I mean, what did Mike Hall say?
You know what I mean? They don't have anything to lose anymore.
Well, yeah, I mean,
unless there's some implications and whatnot.
That's true. Mike Horbach said we love the police, which meant that the Horbach family basically trusts what the investigators found. There's no way that the Horbach family but they don't want to cause any trouble. They don't want to stir any trouble up. They're happy
Oh,
with the
yeah.
way
Okay.
unfortunately, Neverly, they're happy with the way things that have happened. They're content that Stephen and Brendan murdered their daughter and sister, and that's it. No questions asked.
Well,
Jack
okay.
61.
I'm not gonna judge or anything. I just, well, whatever. And then before we go to Jack, I'm sorry. Can I just say something else?
Of course. Yes.
Justine J said in the chat, bodies have a very distinct smell. Trust me, LOL. I work in a crematorium. As before, Justine, we said we would love to talk to you. So if you would like to be
Yes.
a guest on the panel, because we
Yes.
have this huge contention about the lack of smell of decomposing smell or cremation. So if you could expand on that, that would be great.
That'd
And
be
then
awesome.
under your scar said, I used to have to release bodies from morgue after hours, and the smell in there and cooler. She put an emoji of like a scary face. So yeah, we would love to
Correct.
pick your brains, girls.
Correct. And
Thank you.
let me just tell you very quickly before I introduce Jack 61 and Susan. I, believe it or not, I did several years of geriatric nursing when I was doing my honours degree back at university. I worked part-time as a nurse assistant, and I was around the elderly, beautiful, lovely people. But I also had to attend and care for people that were in the process of dying. And I actually held people that have died in my arms because we actually talk to them very gently. They can actually hear, believe it or not, for several minutes after they've passed away. I'm not sure whether people knew that, but they could actually hear. And when you get up close and personal to someone who's about to die who has just passed away, let me tell you, there is a very, very distinct odor. It's inescapable. You can smell it. It's very, very unique. It's very, very different. You never forget that the odor that comes from a human body because their body is decomposing and you can smell it. So could you imagine a dog that's got a massive sense of smell? They'll be able to pick up these odors from a long, long distance away. And what the investigators did to the canines is unforgivable. Jack 61, do you have a comment?
I do, and it's speculation because we don't have any photos, but we were talking about you guys were talking about Cuss Road and who owned the property, which was the Vanderhoofels, I think was their name.
That's correct. Correct.
And so we know that the gang was all there for basically hours and hours on end. Considering how they destroyed the burn pit, destroyed
Yes.
it.
Yes.
I just wonder now how much they dug in that temporary clandestine burial site. Now that I'm thinking about it, did they dig all that shit up? The dirt around
Well,
it. You know what I
don't
mean?
worry. Don't worry. We're going to go through that, Jack 61. Correct, because you know who was there that did all the digging, Earl, and also the three amigos were there down there too, also digging.
I just think about it and thinking about they have to be thinking a little bit about down the road, and so not to leave any evidence of anything. Would they dig it up? I don't know. I don't want to throw a bunch of innuendo out, but I have to wonder.
Correct. I think you've hit the nail on the head, Jack 61, and I agree with you. The crime scene specialists and others sanitized two areas, not just one, two potential grave sites, burial sites. I was shocked, but we'll go through that, I promise. Susan, do you have a comment?
Yeah, talking about the hall box, I seem to recall probably in the last year that there was a niece or someone on social media somewhere that was questioning the whole thing. Does that ring a bell for anybody?
Not a big bill, no. As in, she wanted to do further investigation and ask questions, or what was the situation there? Okay.
She thought that Stephen and Brendan were innocent.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible. Incredible. Well, I hope she's watching our podcast here, because I
Yeah.
think after this one here, surely you have to be shocked. Your eyes are going to be open. There's no question about that.
Seems like a
Jinx
third.
recalls it was a cousin.
Yeah, third
Okay.
or fourth cousin down the
Okay.
bloodline.
Yep. Awesome. And yes, there was a question, can scent remain in soil? Yes, it can. Yes, it can. Remember, many of these cadaver dogs, they were used, I could imagine, in World War II and in some of the other conflicts that take place around the world where they
9/11.
where they find bodies and body parts buried underneath in the soil. They look for mass graves, mass burials. Yes, the scent does remain in the soil because it leaches into the soil and the dogs pick it up. Remember, the cadaver dogs are able to determine whether someone has drowned in a lake, in a body of water, because the body produces gases and the gases go to the surface of the water. The cadaver dogs pick it up. Okay. Who was it?
Amazing how that works.
Was it Ripper Jack who went with a cadaver dog in a boat on that lake to try and find whether that gentleman was buried in a lake? It was him. It was
Don
Ripper
Lewis.
Jack.
Yes.
Don Lewis. Correct.
It was Ripper.
Correct. Yeah. So these bodies, when they expand in water, they release gas. The cadaver dog scent it, right? So yes, the scent would remain in soil, right? So these dogs are truly, truly remarkable. Neville, do you have a comment?
No.
All right.
Shocking.
Yeah. So what I did, I went back to Julie Kramer's report, right? And I was actually shocked when I saw this. I didn't even realize it was there. Now, remember, her team brought out a whole variety of cadaver dogs, and one of them was Canine Trace, right? Canine Trace is a cadaver dog. Susan, do you see the slide that's up there?
I do, Doc. Yes.
Yep. Would you like to read just the part that's in blue? This blew my mind. Have a read of this one.
Canine Trace checked the exterior of Stephen Avery's residence and red van and driveway without alert.
Without alert. Guys, who didn't know this? Who wasn't aware of this? And people in chat, who wasn't aware of this? Jack 61.
I've read it, but it it's just like I said before. I've read these dog reports, what we've got, and it just didn't really register with me. It just didn't.
No. What about the rest of the guys on the panel? Did you realize this? That a cadaver dog actually went around Stephen's residence and Barb Yunder's van with no hit, no alert.
I didn't.
Yeah. I read it like Jack 61 ages ago, but it never entered my mind. Now, why do you think that's important? Now, remember, a cadaver dog detects human decomposition, right? Now, according to Brendan Dassey, they stabbed Teresa Horbach in the stomach. They cut her throat. She obviously must have been bleeding. They moved Teresa Horbach allegedly from the trailer to the garage. And because she was cut and stabbed, there likely would have been blood, right? So hence, if there was drops of blood anywhere around Stephen Avery's residence, the cadaver dog would have done a hit. Guys, would you agree? Susan?
Yes, and that's also not very far from the burn pit.
That's
going
100%.
around the trailer.
That's 100%. That's 100% correct, because Stephen Avery's burn pit was just behind his garage. So they had a canine dog, a cadaver dog, go around Stephen's residence and also around the van, right, with no hit. That means that the dog detected no human decomposition. This is incredibly exculpatory for Stephen and also for Brendan. And Jack 61, if we have a look at the next slide, I'll tell you why. Right? Now, remember this. Remember Mr. Kratz went bananas when this was challenged, right? So this is Teresa Horbach's back door to her RAV4, right? Remember the back door? And on the back door of her RAV4, there are drops of blood that go straight down. The droplets of blood hit at 90 degrees, right? And if you remember from the court testimony, the court trial, Storky got it completely wrong. Right, Jack 61? Storky got it 100% wrong when he said, they flung Teresa Hallbach into the back of her RAV and the
Completely
blood
wrong.
from it. Correct. Jack 61, do you want to comment?
No, oh no, I was just commenting completely wrong.
Storky got it completely wrong. So the jury thought, oh my God, Stephen and Brendan picked up Teresa Hallbach and flung her in the back of her RAV4. The blood from her hair hit the back door, and hence that's why she was in the back. That's why her blood is in the back. Well, there's one big problem. It can't happen like that because the droplets of blood hit at 90 degrees. They got flung off something, right? Remember Jack 61, the blunt and bloody object, right? So this is huge, absolutely huge, because Cherie Cohane took a swab, item A3, from the blood that was on the back door, and it came back as DNA belonging to Teresa Hallbach, right? So this is incredible. So Jack 61, if we have a look at the next slide, you can see that this is important, guys, because remember, a cadaver dog went around Stephen's trailer, went around the van, and gave no hit. This is important because Kathleen Zellner's team, using a blood spatter expert, showed that the blood came off likely from Teresa being bludgeoned when she was either on her knees or close to the ground, right? That means that Teresa Hallbach was bludgeoned and attacked behind her own RAV4. Guys, on the panel and in chat, would you agree? Yes or no? Yes or no, that she was bludgeoned behind her own RAV4. Guys, do you agree?
I do.
Yep.
Agree.
Susan, do you agree?
Yes,
Everyone
I agree.
agrees.
It's common sense.
It's
Sense.
common sense. So, guys, if she got bludgeoned, think about it. Would she shed blood on the ground? Very, very likely, Teresa Hallbach will be shedding blood on the ground. Now, the question is, if no cadaver dog picked up any sign of blood on the ground around Barb Yunder's van, around Stephen Avery's trailer, it absolutely proves that Teresa Hallbach was not bludgeoned on the Avery salvage yard anywhere near Stephen Avery's trailer or Barb Yunder's van. Susan.
Yeah, her RAV was parked right across from the red van also. So
100%.
had happened in that area, they would have picked it up.
100%. And remember the scent dog. Remember, guys, Loof, what the dog did. The dog went up to Barb Yunder's van, smelt it, and she took off. She took off for the cornfield and followed the scent that way. The dog didn't hit anywhere near where Teresa Hallbach had parked, right? So the question is, this is incredibly exculpatory for Stephen and Brendan because her back door shows that Teresa Hallbach was attacked behind her own RAV4. A cadaver dog never picked it up. A scent dog never picked it up. This is incredibly exculpatory. So it goes to show, guys, that Teresa Hallbach was attacked, viciously attacked, probably killed by being bludgeoned by a blunt and bloody object. Now, Jack 61, where is that blunt and bloody object? Would you like to tell everybody where it is?
Well, that son of a bitch has disappeared. Pardon my French, but it's gone.
It's
Came and went.
completely gone, guys. So am I over exaggerating here, guys? Do you agree with my analysis that if Teresa Hallbach was bludgeoned with some type of blunt object like a hammer or a club, and the fact that she shed blood that hit behind the door, it meant that she had to have been bleeding because somebody or a group of people picked her up and put her in her own RAV4. There would have been blood on the ground. No cadaver dog, no scent dog picked it up. That's incredibly exculpatory for both boys. Susan.
You mean like a blunt, bloody object?
Correct. 100% correct. Now remember, Mark Wiegert said, well, hey, we found no evidence of Teresa Halbach in the trailer or the garage because they meticulously cleaned up their garage and trailer. Are you now trying to tell me that Stephen Avery was able to remove micro droplets of blood from the ground and also on grass? Guys, are we in the twilight zone or what? Jack 61.
Yeah, I think there would have been, it should have been attacked behind her car where it's sitting there, her RAV, right there at the van. There would have been blood and the dog would have smelled it. I have no doubt.
100% correct. And you see, that's why the investigators bought these cadaver dogs and scent dogs. But what they were telling the investigators didn't want to know, didn't want to listen, right? And I picked up that canine trace. That canine trace went around Stephen Avery's trailer and Barb Yunder's. That's the only one that's a red van, right? It's actually maroon color and didn't do a hit. There was no alert, which meant that on the ground, there couldn't have been any blood, right? And the scent dog went straight past it, straight past the burn barrel, Stephen Avery's burn barrel, and headed towards the picked cornfield. Guys, do you understand how exculpatory that is? And it also proved, thank you, Jack 61, it also proved that what Brendan said to Fassbender and Wiegert was a outright fabricated story, right? Think about this, guys. How on earth is Stephen Avery going to attack Teresa Halbach behind her own RAV4? And remember, when Bobby Dassey went bow hunting, did he see Stephen attacking Teresa Halbach? Yes or no?
No.
No. He didn't see any. Did he see Teresa Halbach laying on the ground, knocked out? Yes or no?
Nope.
No? So are you trying to tell me this, guys? You trying to tell me this, that Teresa Halbach walked into Stephen's trailer, had a conversation, even though she's been pre-warned, do not go inside people's trailers, especially when you're by yourself. And then she left Stephen's trailer and Stephen followed her and bludgeoned her, likely to death, picked her up and put her in her own RAV4, right? With no sign of blood, no blunt and bloody object, no hit by a cadaver dog, no hit by a scent dog, and wait for it, she then got Teresa Halbach and pinned her up in his own bedroom, right? Blood pouring from her head on a pillow, and there's no sign of blood. And does Brendan Dassey ever mention blood on Teresa's head? Yes or no?
No.
Never.
But she didn't die.
But she didn't die. So guys, can you see that the blood on the back of the door is incredibly exculpatory for Stephen and Brendan? What Brendan said was a fantasy story. Teresa Halbach was never in Stephen Avery's trailer, because if she was, the scent dog, the cadaver dog, would have never left that premises. There would have been a ton of hits. Guys, do you agree in chat? Do you agree on the panel?
Yes, the luminol, my
absolutely.
God, that would be illuminating that trailer.
Correct. And it was luminol treated and nothing of significance was found, right?
Because they had
remember,
5 days to clean up. Yeah.
No, the three amigos went in there. The three amigos went in there and took all the blood that they could find. The luminol showed nothing nefarious. Jack 61.
Oh no, you Neverly said that the luminol, and you guys talked about it, didn't show really
He
anything.
scoured. He scoured that trailer.
He scoured the trailer. Yet he left his own blood. Right? So guys, can you see? Can you see? I'm not making this up. You're seeing it for yourself. You are seeing the evidence in front of your eyes. The cadaver dogs and the scent dogs are telling you a narrative that is completely different to what Ken Kratz put together. Those two boys are in prison for something that they never committed, guys. This is how insane it is. Jack 61.
And remember what you read last week? You pulled up what Bassbender said? The theory.
Yes.
The theory. Oh my God. They
It's
were
the
running.
most
They were running from these dogs too.
100% correct. It's the most disingenuous thing I've ever read in my life. It's not a theory. These dogs, and I showed you the manual, the GLSAR manual, what these dogs detect. I even showed you the chemicals that they smell. For example, cadaverine. These dogs are trained using these chemicals to pick up human decomposition. It's no theory, guys. The dogs, can you see? And everyone in chat, please say yes or no. The dogs were incredibly exculpatory for both Stephen and Brendan. They were telling a different narrative. Right, guys? Susan, did you have
Correct.
a comment?
No,
Thank you.
but absolutely, Doc. A totally different narrative.
A completely different narrative. Alice, do you have a comment?
Yeah, just exactly the same talk as what you said. The dogs are exculpatory to the whole case. Absolutely.
And that's why I hope someone from the Hallback family is watching our podcast, because the dogs are telling a different narrative to what the state did, right? I'm afraid the Hallback family was lied to. They were lied to. This is not what happened to their daughter. There is no way. You cannot hide from these dogs. These dogs have no fear or favor, right? They're scented. They will go and find that scent. The cadaver dogs will smell human death and decomposition. You can't hide from them, right? The dogs are telling a different narrative. And guys, you're not going to believe this, but do you think Forsky and Loof were mentioned in Stephen Avery's trial? Yes or no? Who knows?
No.
They weren't mentioned.
They were not.
Jack 61, are you shocked?
No, not now. I'm not. If we'd have talked about this a month ago, I would have said, yeah, I think they were. But now,
Yep,
no,
I checked.
I'm sure they weren't.
I checked. Forsky.
I thought that
and
they were.
No,
but
they weren't. The only
Wow.
word that was mentioned was bloodhound. Forsky and Loof were not mentioned at all. Brutus was, because they had Julie Kramer on the stand, right? But remember,
Okay.
Loof and Forsky were not part of their team. They were separate teams. They were never mentioned in
Yeah,
Stephen Avery's trial.
She's a Kakana police officer that has her
Correct.
own dog.
She is. She does have her own dog. 100% correct. So can you see, guys? Sorry, Neverly, continue.
It's okay. I just wanted to mention something from the chat. Empower Building said, when you control the investigation, you control the results.
100% correct.
And
Yep.
vice versa. And
Yep,
also,
100% correct.
remember how when I talked to you about this whole thing, I said, too bad that they didn't use the dogs as exculpatory evidence for Stephen and Brendan. And we came to the conclusion that just like the polygraph, the behavioral analysis, statement analysis, and cadaver dogs, because they're not specific to the victim, cannot
Correct.
be used as it's a variable. It's helpful, but it's not. You cannot prove it or disprove it because it's not specific. And then you said, however, in
Yes.
combination with the scent dog, if they go
And
to the
cadaver
same
dog.
place,
Correct.
then it's a
That's
different
correct.
story. That it
It's-
should be used.
100% correct. The mere factor that Fassbender said the theory, as Jack 61 alluded to, meant that he didn't trust the dogs. Right? He thought, do not worry about them. But the reality is, there were a lot of cadaver dogs that were bought. I think there was 6 to 8 cadaver dogs in total, and a few bloodhounds as well. So this was serious, right? This was a serious investigation that the dogs were being used, and essentially their reports were completely ignored. Jack 61.
I'm curious, Doc, because we talked about it some in the last podcast about the potential for Manitowoc to have brought their own dogs. Did you find out anything there?
Not that I'm aware of. The only thing that I know, you'll see, because I've got some documents where they talk about civilians with their canines, civilian handlers. And I'm thinking to myself, oh yeah, civilian handlers, huh? And of course, Mike Bushman was part of the canine unit.
Yes.
He was a dog handler.
I was just thinking
Yeah, there are
about that.
pictures of him in the magazine.
Yes.
I was just thinking
Yeah.
about
Jack
that
61.
phone call. Yeah, I was just thinking about that phone call, and I can't remember who it was. I don't remember if it was Herman. I think it was. Talked to the guy from Great Lakes Search and Rescue, and there was a mention about bringing their own dogs, not Great Lakes, but
Yes.
because they were going to bring them in, but about
Yep.
also bringing in their own dogs. I think that was the comment, and I guess the way it was said, it's not really clear, but that's the way it sounded, that they had their own canine dogs they were going to bring in too. It's like, holy shit, how many dogs they have out there?
There were a lot of dogs. I was actually quite surprised, but there was a comment, and we'll see it. We'll get to it in a while. There was mention, I think, by Julie Kramer that there were civilian handlers with their canines, right? Which meant that they could have been MTSO officers with their own dogs, because they have a canine unit. Mike Bushman is a canine handler. And think about it, he's the one that allegedly found the clandestine burial site. Now, is he just going to go walking through the forest, a deep, dense forest, looking for a clandestine burial site, or would he use a dog, right, like a cadaver dog, to look for such burial sites? Because remember, cadaver dogs, they find shallow graves. Alice, do you have a comment?
Well,
Actually, Crockett in chat, he says, didn't Butin ask Fassbender, did any of the dogs hit on Stephen's trailer? And he says, Fassbender answered after an objection, no.
That's correct. No, that's correct. So he was actually relying on Diedring's report, because Diedring in his report said, I did not see any dog alerts. Right? Now, notice what he said. I did not witness any dog alerts. He never said, I heard a dog alert. He said, no, I didn't witness any dog alerts. So Fassbender thought there were no hits inside Stephen Avery's trailer. Jack 61, good question. Thank you, Crockett. Jack 61.
Yeah, your comment about Bushman, and we're going to get these photos here. Excuse me, I got a frog in my throat. We're going to get these photos here with Cuss Road, and thinking about, I've been in the woods a lot in my life, and how exactly what you just said. They're not like super thick. I mean, you can get through the woods, but they're kind of out in the middle of basically nowhere. I mean, there's a few houses around,
Correct.
but it's undeveloped property. It's just woods.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
So he just stumbles. His team just stumbles across this clandestine
Just,
burial site.
just stumbles across a cross bag.
I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
No, it don't.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But don't worry, we'll uncover the shenanigans. All right, Alice, do you have a comment?
Oh,
No, Doc, sorry.
1 second.
Forgot to mute.
You're all good. Neville, do you have a question or a comment?
yes, pure speculation. Just popped into my head regarding Bushman and his being canine handler. Who's to say that he didn't bring his dog that was maybe sniffing for drugs too?
It could
I
have
mean,
well
we
been.
don't know.
Yeah, it could have well been. And there's no question in my mind. That's exactly why they opened up all the cars. They were looking for contraband. They were looking for anything to pin it on Stephen Avery, right? Drugs, guns. anything illicit, you name it, because the cadaver dogs did their job. The cadaver dogs searched the entire property, the Avery salvage yard, and they did a couple of hits, and the blood that was found in the car turned out to be from victims of traffic accidents. The cadaver dog, Brutus, also hit on the back of Teresa's Toyota RAV4. Now, we don't know what Brutus hit upon, whether Brutus had actually smelt Teresa's blood, Stephen's blood, and A23 in the back of the RAV. And of course, what did the idiots do? They took the tarp off, and then it rained heavily, potentially washing off forensic evidence of the Toyota RAV4, which is completely crazy. Jack 61. Thank you, Neverly.
Just talking about opening up the cars, just keep in mind, and we played a couple of calls last Sunday about Shedder calling in to dispatch. He's the inspector or whatever. He was out at this Avery salvage yard wanting. They eventually brought in 3 teams of firemen to cut open pop hoods with the jaws of life. 3 teams working.
Correct. 100% correct. And it was the most ridiculous thing that I've ever seen, because to try and take a car apart using the jaws of life takes many hours. And it's crazy because the cadaver dogs went through the cars. The cadaver dogs actually went to the crusher. Now tell me, did any cadaver dog do a hit on the crusher? Yes or no?
No, nothing.
There was no hits on the crusher, right? No hits. So that meant that all the cars that were crushed, no blood was present in them, because the cadaver dogs would have detected the presence of blood. If you detect the presence of blood, open up that car. But why put on the farce of opening up all the cars with the jaws of life when none of the cadaver dogs had hit, right? It's completely a waste of time. And remember, Jack 61, remember guys, Tom Fassbender was crying that they didn't have enough resources.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, Jack 61, please take it.
Oh yeah, well that comes into that reply to a motion that Beauty and String had put in September of 2006, and Fallon wrote that big crybaby reply that they had to go here and they had to go there, and it stretched their resources. And he also slipped up and said that they found bones at the clandestine burial site.
That's correct. And don't worry, we've got plenty of juicy stuff coming up. All right, guys. So if there's no more questions, let's go to the next slide, guys. And this is my favorite slide here, guys. What we're going to do is we are going to reveal, and you're going to see it, guys. We're going to reveal the shenanigans that took place at Cuss Road, right? I've got plenty of proof. I've got plenty of documents. Watch their show unravel in front of your eyes, right? So I'm not sure who these 3 guys are referring to. It could be the 3 amigos, right? It could be Lenk, Colburn, Remeka. It could be Tyson. It could be anybody, right? So let's go through this, guys, step by step. What did the cadaver dogs actually find? What did the scent dogs actually find? Jack 61, can we have a look at the next slide, please? All right. Now, this is the first shenanigan, right? And let's think about this, right? See this white truck? It looks like a repurposed ambulance. You can see that there are investigators that have taken out floodlights. They've taken out floodlights and also a generator from the back of that white truck. It looks like it's a repurposed ambulance. And in total, there are 5 floodlights. 5. Now remember what the state said. Remember Jack 61. Remember, guys, nothing was found. Nothing. So they bring up this resource vehicle and take out 5 floodlights. Are you trying to tell me that they took out 5 floodlights for a peat moss bag? Right? Floodlights and a generator. And I'm going to prove to you that they actually used the floodlights at the clandestine burial site that, according to the state, had nothing but a peat moss bag and a pallet. Susan.
And if I'm not mistaken, they started over there early, did they not?
In
With
the
plenty
morning.
of daylight?
Plenty of daylight. They were
Plenty
there.
of daylight.
They were there.
It's like 10:30, 11 o'clock, I think, when they kind of started rolling. I think that's right.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you know what time? You know what time Bushman clocks in?
No.
I don't remember.
I think it's around 7:30 in the morning.
The morning,
That's a hint.
yes.
That's a hint. At 7:30 in the around 7:30, I've got the login sheet. They were there. He was there very early on. Okay, so they go to Cuss Road. They make all this cadaffle. They bring this truck and they take out floodlights. And guys, you can see on the right-hand side what they use floodlights for. They use floodlights at a crime scene to illuminate the area because they found something of significance. That's why you bring in the floodlights, to illuminate an area at night. So you're working on something. You have found something of significance. Guys, is that outrageous or what? That's why you use floodlights for, right? Yeah?
Absolutely. I'm 1000% convinced they found bones and something else. I don't know what.
100%. Sorry, Neverly.
It's okay. So we have floodlights, whatever this ambulance-looking vehicle is. Look how many people. They blocked off the road. They got lunches. They said, do not let anybody over here, right? Didn't freaking Colburn say roll the ambulance over here? Didn't he say in one of the calls? He rolled the ambulance.
There was an ambulance. I'm not sure who did the
Yes.
call. Maybe
think
Jack
it was
61 will remember. But yes,
Colburn
there was a
even.
call. There was a
And
call about.
And then we had nothing, absolutely nothing like this in front of Stevens' trailer.
No.
When there was, a human being, a woman was allegedly cut up, burned, shot, raped, whatever it was, all in front of two houses, not one, but two.
Correct. 100% correct. So now what I want to do is to break this down and just show you the absolute shenanigans that were pulled by the state. And you're going to be blown away by this. So quite clearly, they brought in this repurposed truck and they took out floodlights. There's also a generator there. Okay. So Jack 61, can we have a look at the next slide, please? Now, this picture here is iconic. And I've been staring at this picture for a long period of time, and I picked up something I never ever saw before, right? So let's go over this picture here. This is at Cuss Road. And you can now clearly see the 5 floodlights. We'll go to that one next. Let's have a look at the floodlights first, Jack 61. You can clearly see that they've unloaded 5 floodlights. And that black box down the bottom is a generator, a power generator. So what they do is they connect up the generator to the floodlights and they use them. That's the first important point. But notice that the white truck has turned around, done a U-turn and remained parked there, right? Now, also, you can see in this picture, there is a huge amount of crime scene tape. Now notice, they didn't put the tape, say 10 feet, 20 feet from the clandestine burial site. Guys, what can you tell me where they put the crime scene tape? Where did they put it, guys? Where did they put it? Did they put it next to the clandestine burial site? Jack 61, where did they put the crime scene tape?
Well, they're all the way down to basically the road, and then they went and they did a split off down. You can see it there. And then on top of that, they went down the road going to the deer camp as well. Way the hell down it.
100% correct. So, guys, check this out. They stumble across a disturbed earth, per se. And they go, oh my God, is this a clandestine burial site? So notice where they put the crime scene tape. They put the crime scene tape right on Cuss Road. That meant that they didn't want anyone crossing over, even though the clandestine burial site is like 40, 50 meters away, right? They put the crime scene tape right on Cuss Road at the cul-de-sac. They didn't
Deep
want
down into the
anyone.
woods.
You're exactly right. They didn't want anyone stepping foot on that grass anywhere, even though the clandestine burial site was in the woods a long way away from that road, and we'll see it. Now, if you also notice, Jack 61, there's a truck that's yellow, right? You know what that yellow truck is? Does anyone know what it is?
No.
Right down the corner.
I do.
It's the
I
crime.
do.
Yeah, Jack 61.
It's the mobile crime unit.
It's the mobile crime unit. Okay? Mobile crime unit. So in that truck, you've got 3 people. You've got Erdl, Zhang, and Kates. Zhang is the photographer, right? Erdl works for the crime scene unit, right? And we'll talk about him in a moment. So the crime scene lab has been called. So wait a minute. Is this a peat moss bag? Or is this a clandestine burial site? Or has all the action already taken place? Alice.
Well, I mean,
Do you have a
just
comment?
look at it, Doc. Right? Look at all the action and motors and people and crime scene tape and everything like that. There is more happening on this road than we ever see happening at Stephen's trailer, where there's
100%
horrendous
correct.
murder and crucifying Teresa and rape and assault and God knows what is supposed
But she
to have
didn't
happened
die.
at Stephen's trailer. But exactly, Neverly. But she didn't die until we put her in the fire or friggin' whatever. There is
Correct.
more shit happening at this end of the fucking field in Avery property than there ever has been on the salvage yard. Now that's an awful lot of people and shit to be doing for peat moss and a wooden pallet.
And the
Do
wooden
they
pallet.
honestly think we are that stupid, Doc? You know
Yes.
what I mean? But
Yes.
and I'm sorry to say, and I don't mean any disrespect to all the people that live in Wisconsin, but I'm sorry, yous are all dumb as fuck if you think that fuck all happened at this road and it happened
Correct.
at Stephen's trailer. I'm sorry, Doc,
Correct.
but you know me, I'll say how I see it. And the way
Yes.
I see it is
Yeah.
there is more shit happening here than there ever has been. And for people still out there to this day that is turning around and saying, oh, it happened on Stephen's property. Bull fucking shit. Something
Right.
happened here at Cuss Road.
Right. Now, remember, thank you, Alice. I appreciate that very much. Now, remember, guys, I'm not manipulating anything. I'm showing you as the pictures were taken. Jack 61 will back me up on this. There was a helicopter flying over the air all day and took 50, 60, 70 photographs of this area of Cuss Road and around Cuss Road. There was a helicopter flying up above all day, including the night time. Right, Jack 61? Back me up on this.
Trooper McConnell, I think he took 100 and can't remember, it's 100 and something photos.
Yeah, and
yes.
and Doc, was there no somebody there? I mean, I don't know what they're called. I don't know if it's a geologist or
Oh,
what.
wow.
But you get people coming out with like it's like a laser sort of thing,
Yeah,
and they
hold on.
measure distance and stuff like
Hold on.
that. They're
I found him. Jack 61, have a look at the car next to the crime lab. Just to amplify that area. The car in front of the crime lab. Have a look at the guy. Have a look at the guy right there, Jack 61. He's on a yellow tripod.
Yeah.
That's exactly the laser measuring instrument. Now think about this. Here's the guy that's going to do a 3D scan of this area for a fucking peat moss bag. A
Yeah,
peat moss
exactly.
bag. There he is. Did anyone ever see that before? This is the first time I've seen it. There's the guy on the tripod, the yellow tripod. He's got the laser measuring instrument. He's there already, Jack 61.
Yeah, so that people understand, I mean, those that have been around know, but those that are newer to the case may not understand that these state troopers were from the uh, reconstruction unit of the Wisconsin State Troopers. They were called in immediately. They were
Yes.
there on the afternoon of the 5th, and they stayed the entire time that the property was under seizure. And part of that,
Correct.
they used this instrument called a total control unit, which I'm sure Doc will talk about more.
Yes.
And
Yes. Neverly.
sorry, everybody rushed from Stephen in front of from the salvage yard over to Cuss Road.
Correct. And don't worry, we'll go over this. But this is remarkable. They've got a guy with a 3D measuring instrument because they're going to do a 3D measurement of this area here. Now, wait a minute. Fassbender was crying that they lacked resources if nothing of significance was found at Cuss Road. What the hell on November the 7th is this guy doing with his 3D laser scanner, which would have cost them a fortune to have used if there's nothing but a peat moss bag and a pallet? Quite clearly, there cannot be a peat moss bag and a pallet. Something of significance has been found. That's why they're doing a 3D map of this area, right? But if you thought that was insane, Jack 61, are you able to go back up a little bit in that figure that's got a white top? This is the first time I've ever noticed this. I found one of the dogs. Have a look at this. So just further up, Jack 61, the one with the white top, where I've got Loof or Brutus. Have a look at that. That's a dog. Do you guys agree?
That's
a
a
dog on
dog.
a leash. That's a dog on a leash. Now,
Yeah.
Neverly,
Maybe that was Brutus that was not allowed
either
to cross the
Brutus
tape.
or Loof. No, I reckon it's Loof. And the reason why I reckon it's Loof is because look at the hair of the handler. She's got blonde hair. And guess
Yeah.
who's got blonde hair?
Uh-huh.
Forsk has got blonde hair.
But not only
So-
that, dog, the coloration of the dog and that as well, the
Yes.
black and tan. That's the
Yes.
German Shepherd colour.
That's
And
a German Shepherd.
I would notice that shape and colour anywhere in photos. And a bloodhound is smaller and browner, not black. You know, that's a black and tan.
Yeah, but if you actually have a look at Loof has got those exact colors as well. Because remember, I showed you a picture of Loof with the dog handler, and Forsky is the one with blonde hair. Julie Kramer's got dark hair. So, oh my God, this one picture captures the scent dog that was turned back. Remember, guys. Remember when Loof tried to cross the yellow tape, they rang up Sheriff Pagel and they said, you cannot cross. We're not allowing any dogs to cross the line. So notice you've now got in the same photograph, you've got the guy with the 3D scanner already taking a scanning of the scene. You've got the dog and the dog handler obviously being turned away because Sarah Forsky's walking away from the crime scene. And you've got the crime lab unit there with Erdl, Zhang, and Kate. And have a look. Look at all the guys that are standing there in circles. I count at least 11 people at that scene there, right? And according to the state, nothing was found there. Nothing but a wooden pallet and a bag of peat moss. Jack 61, any guys got any comments? Am I hallucinating or what? Jack 61.
It's absolute garbage. You do not move if you're limited on resources. Number one, you don't move that many people for nothing. You go research it and find out what's there. Clearly, they found something. Clearly, You don't block
100%
the.
correct.
You don't call officer. You got to reallocate officers and go block a road. You can't let. So somebody's got to man the road down there and not
Correct.
let anyone through. Well, the mailman wants through. Well, get his name and address. They wanted his name and
Correct.
address where they let him go and deliver the damn mail. And on top of that, I think I counted 16 people in
Yes.
this photo
Yes.
total.
Yeah,
And
Correct.
I
I
know
counted 15.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know that more showed up.
Oh, yes, more did. In fact, a fire truck showed up later on. So, guys, can you see that there's a clear division? Everyone is on the other side of the crime scene tape, right? There are photographs that show investigators near the clandestine burial site, but everyone is right behind that line. Now, come on, guys. Are you trying to tell me that now they're potentially contaminating a crime scene if there's nothing but a peat moss bag and an old wooden pallet? Guys, it clearly does not make any sense. Jack 61.
They treated it as a crime scene. I don't care anybody that would come along and look at these photos of Cuss Road that didn't know shit about this case at all. They would say that that's a crime scene. There's no doubt about it.
That's correct. If there are new people in chat and you have never seen this picture before, what's the first thing that you're going to say when you see this picture? What is it, guys? Alice, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you see this picture?
Something's happened there. Plain, straight,
Yep.
and simple. Something serious has happened there to have that crime scene tape up and all the people and everything like that there. There's nothing else to explain that, Doc. Something's happened on that road.
100%. But the first thing that comes in your mind is that's a crime scene.
Yeah.
Guys, am I exaggerating or what? That's the first thing that comes to your mind. When you have a look at this scene, it's a crime scene. It's got to be a crime scene. Look how much tape. Guys, they didn't put tape around the clandestine burial site. They literally cornered off Cuss Road and the deer camp and all the surrounding woods. They must have put several kilometers of crime scene tape around a small clandestine burial site. They froze the entire area because whatever they found was so significant, they knew that something major occurred at that spot. Alice.
Yeah, exactly, Doc. And I mean, out of the 40s and everything like that I've seen, there is more crime scene tape put up there in that one spot than there ever was at Stephen's property.
100% correct.
Where this so-called murder was supposed to have happened.
Correct.
So to me, this is where maybe Teresa was killed or bludgeoned or whatever. I mean, look at that patch on the road, the patches on the road. Now, don't get me wrong, they could just be oil. It could just be water that's been spilt or whatever. But it could also be blood. You know, there's a dart on
Could
right
be.
on the road, Jack. Right on the road, behind where the floodlights are, there's a black spot on the road.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
That could be blood. There's a spot in between the silver car and the black car. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It could just be oil. It could be, it could be water that's been spilled. But it could also be blood. That is merely a crime scene in my eyes than Stephen's trailer.
100%. In fact, the cadaver dogs and the scent dogs are exculpatory for Stephen and Brendan at his trailer. There's no question about that. And yet, Loof, who's a scent dog, made a beeline straight for this area here, right? So Loof smelt Teresa Horbach's scent getting stronger as she was coming down from the trailer to the end of Cuss Road. Something major triggered off Loof and also Brutus as well. So this is truly a remarkable picture. This is the very first time I ever saw the dog in the picture. Right? There's no doubt about it. Neverly, would you agree? That's a dog. You've walked your dog all the time. That is a
German
dog.
Shepherd.
It's not a human being. It's either a German Shepherd or it's the scent dog, which is Loof. Because if you have a look at the colors of Loof, Loof has got the same type of colouring and shading as the cadaver dog. And because of the hair colour of the handler, I believe it's Loof, the scent dog, right? So Jack 61, can we have a look at the next slide, please? All right. Now, have a look at this. This is incredible. This is truly remarkable, right? So this photograph was actually very dark. So what I did is I took the image and I lit it up. Right? I increased the brightness. And there's a couple of things that you immediately see here. Have a look at where the clandestine burial site is. There's 2 floodlights. 2 floodlights have been put at the clandestine burial site that, according to Fassbender, according to the state, is nothing but a peat moss bag and a wooden pallet. And just to prove that they had moved the floodlights, have a look at down below. On the road, down below, there are 3 floodlights, which meant, I'm correct, they moved 2 of them. Guys, can you see it? Can you see
Correct.
it? There's
Yes,
3
perfect. Good
floodlights.
job,
They
Mr.
moved,
Silkman.
they moved 2 of them. They didn't move 1. Come on, guys. A peat moss bag. They moved 2. They illuminated the area. Yes.
Which means that they were planning to stay there till whatever it
A long
takes.
time. They were
Exactly.
planning.
So what
They were planning.
happens when they were finding bones in Stephen's burn area? They went home.
Correct. So
They went home.
But let me tell you, I have a theory of what happened, right? So what you see there, they've already found what they had to have found a long time ago. If Teresa's cremains or effects were found, they were taken away very early on. What they're doing here is they're sanitizing the crime scene. They're cleaning it up. Jack 61, would you agree? Yes or no? There are no cremains there. They're gone. They're long gone. This is a farce.
Well,
Jack 61.
Considering what they did again, actually we went through the photos on Jeff's Live the other night. The burn pit area was covered completely, and this was the 10th or the 11th. I can't remember which now. They dug it back up. They dug it back up and took whatever out of it, which it really surprised me because I mean, this is according to the metadata that's stamped on the photos. So if they would go to the effort to do that there, which I don't think there was ever shit there except whoever dumped there on the 8th for Joss to find after they found whatever they found on the 7th here at Cuss Road, it tells me that they would absolutely sanitize that area. Absolutely.
Yes, and I'll tell you why they did it. Right, it was a very, very clever. So, guys, I'm not hallucinating. They definitely took 2 floodlights at the clandestine burial site for a peat moss bag and also for a wooden pallet. And Jack 61, if you just blow up where the square is, the red square, to the right-hand side, you can see that they've now called in a fire truck. A fire truck, right? And you can clearly see that the lights are on and there's a vehicle that's further back that has its lights on, which means that it's getting pretty dark, right? The vehicles have turned on, some of the vehicles have turned on their lights. But the other thing is, if Jack 61 can zoom out a bit, guys, you can see that the crime scene tape is still up, right? There's a ton of crime scene tape, right? Mm-hmm. They've taken none of the crime scene tape down. Neverly, do you have a comment?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was agreeing with you. I said, look how much of crime tape, proper freaking crime scene. Properly done.
There's crime scene tape everywhere. Jack 61.
I just want to make mention, there's a report along with these photographs of McConnell that the date and time, I think it's the date and time, anyway, at least the time, was set incorrectly on the camera. So the metadata is skewed. The metadata is wrong.
Okay, interesting.
How could that be?
Because they for whatever reason, they didn't check the camera But it was the 7th for sure. But we just don't know exactly what time it was.
What time? Okay. Now notice that white truck is still there, the one that dropped off the floodlights. Crime scene, it looks like the crime scene unit is still there, and it's obviously quite dark. Jack 61, see where it says floodlights ×2? Are you able to just to blow that area up a little bit? Let's see what we can see where the 2 floodlights are. Right, so in that area there, according to the state, they found nothing. They found a peat moss bag and a wooden pallet, right? They found nothing of interest there, although you can see that they're not allowing anyone in the area there. Bushman is the one that found this clandestine burial site, and we're going to visit him in a minute. So quite clearly, they've set up their floodlights already, okay? So, Jack 61, are we able to go to the next slide unless, no coroner was called. That's correct. No coroner was called out to this site. In fact, the coroner, Deborah Kakach, was prevented from entering the Avery salvage yard at all, or she'll be threatened with arrest. So there was no coroner. So guys, have a look at this picture here. This picture is of the clandestine burial site. And what do you note? What do you see in the clandestine burial site?
It's lit up.
See, guys? It's lit up. It is lit up. And have a look at this, guys. Jack 61 has expanded it. Peat moss bag, pallet, my ass. Right? Have a look. And Jack 61, do you see something blue on the ground by any chance?
I see a huge blue tarp. It's right there.
That's a blue tarp, guys. There is a blue tarp on the ground and it's being illuminated. I think there's a light in the front and a light in the back. Whatever they're doing something at that particular site, right? Now, come on. You went through all this trouble to put floodlights, illuminate it. It's dark for a peat moss bag and a wooden pallet. And Fassbender was crying that he didn't have enough resources. Alice, what do you say about that? Do you believe, Mr. Fassbender, that it was nothing but a peat moss bag and a wooden pallet? Alice?
No.
She's probably breaking her computer.
Breaking the computer.
I'm swearing and cursing like 90 at my telly. No, do a fuck talk. There is just too much shenanigans going on there. And I'm sorry, and I mean, I know it's expanded and everything like that, but that blue tarp could carry a body.
It's big.
You know?
It's big.
It's big enough for us to pick out in a photograph at night under floodlights. You know? So that could be Teresa that's in there that they found. And then my opinion, my speculation, she could have been taken to a crematorium. I'm sorry, but that's just my thought train at the moment, because we've got so many questions and this is just fucking ridiculous what these bastards have tried to do with this whole fucking scenario.
Right, but you have to admit that is very, very suspicious. No one goes through this trouble for a peat moss bag and a wooden pallet. No. Common sense. These people live in rural Wisconsin. They'll be able to tell within 30 seconds what it is. They're not going to waste all these resources. They're not going to spend the entire day. They're not going to put up floodlights for just a peat moss bag and a wooden pallet. Susan, do you have a comment? Thank you, Alice. Thank you very much. Susan.
Yeah, I would sure like to know where the proper photos are.
Good one.
Correct. You mean the ones done by the crime lab?
Yeah, of this entire operation over here. Yeah.
There's nothing. And the photos which are in existence are not where they say they're from. They're from
They're
a
with the
different
burn pit
area.
photos, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
correct. It's from a different area altogether. So quite clearly, something is happening at that site. And I believe that Teresa, if they found Teresa there, she's long gone. She was gone in the morning. What they're doing now is they're cleaning up the site. They're sanitizing the site. And I'll tell you why, right? Because I don't want any hits by cadaver dogs or scent dogs. But it's too late. It's too late. So Jack 61, can we go to the next slide, please? So with the next slide, what I did is I took that darkened area and I lit it up. I brightened up the area. And you can see, blind Freddy can see that whole area is lit up like a Christmas tree, right? So that's the same photograph as the one before, but I just enhanced the background, the light. You can clearly see that suspect burial site, there's a lot of activity that's going on there. They've got floodlights on, and look at it. Look how bright it is compared to the surrounding terrain. Clearly, something has gone on right there. And they've got the road blocked. The road is still blocked. The crime scene's tape is still up. It's an area of activity. Jack 61.
Yeah, and I was going to say it on the last photo, but you can see it here too. And maybe I don't know if it's a wisp or a fragment, but where I'm circling the mouse cursor, there's something white right there. I don't know what it is. It's too blurry, but there's something there.
Correct. I really wonder what it is. Yep. So it's a pity we don't have higher resolution pictures, because remember, this was taken from a helicopter at night at a high distance up in the air. So it's pretty remarkable.
500 feet minimum.
Yep. That's pretty remarkable. So guys, quite clearly, it ain't a peat moss bag, right? There's something took place. But I believe I understand what Alice is saying. I believe that if they found Teresa Hallbach there, or part of her body at this site, and her personal effects, something that pointed to Teresa Hallbach, she was long gone. This is a cleanup. This is restaging. I think the word is restaging the crime scene, and they did it deliberately, right? So Jack 61, are we able to look at the next slide? So guys,
and it all paid off, right? If you ask
it paid
me,
off.
paid off.
It all paid off. According to Pagel, it all paid off. So are you trying to tell me that Wisconsin's investigators, all of those people at that fake crime scene, all the trucks, all the vehicles, all the detectives, dogs, cadaver dogs, scent dogs, a guy with a 3D mark tracker doing a 3D reconstruction. Are you trying to tell me that all those resources were there because of one peat moss bag and one wooden pallet? I don't recall. Do you believe they did all of that show for a peat moss bag? I don't recall. Tell us your thoughts.
No, I don't. It's foolish talk.
It doesn't make any sense, does it? All of those resources, Lord knows how much it would have cost them in terms of bringing in all those resources for just a peat moss bag and an old wooden pallet. Thank you, I don't recall. Susan, what about yourself?
And think about the hours, the manpower, and the hours they were over there. For nothing?
Correct.
I think not. Yeah.
Correct.
It's such bullshit. Such bullshit.
Yep. So guys, this is what the Hallbach family must believe. The Hallbachs must believe that no. Nothing took place at Cuss Road. That's what they found. A peat moss bag, an old wooden pallet. No problems. Nothing to see here. In actual fact, Jack 61, do we actually have any photographs of the peat moss bag and the clandestine burial site dug up?
No. Or the pallet.
Nothing whatsoever, right? So Jack 61, can we have a look at the next slide, please? Now, if you thought...
excuse me, Doc, but isn't there a photo where there's a little plastic coming out of the ground. And
Well,
what am I thinking
yeah,
of?
there are some. Jack 61, it's 19B.
Yeah.
We've gone
yeah,
back to the old back,
Yeah, yeah,
19B. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah,
Susan.
you're gonna have to give me about 30
No,
seconds or so.
no hassles. 19B. There are some photographs, but because you don't know the orientation of those photos, you don't know where they've been taken, right? Quite clearly, according to all the documents, they dug up that site, right? And we'll see from testimony that John Erdl said, yeah, I went down there, I dug up the site, I put all the dirt on a tarp, but we've got no idea. There's no photographs of them really close, right? Digging up the site, showing the peat moss bag, showing the pallet that was taken, the rotten stump or wherever it was. There are no pictures. What we do see is just some pictures of a forest. We got no idea where they are.
What we starting
Right?
at, Doc? 19B, you said?
19B. Yes.
Okay.
It's the
give me a second.
CASO report, the one
Yeah.
that says CASO page 134.
I'm gonna try to
19B.
I'm gonna try to resize this, so give me just one moment.
No hassles. So, Susan, I don't know what to make of that, right? So, quite clearly, they don't want to show you what they found at Cuss Road at the clandestine burial site. We've got these generic photos. We've got no idea where they're from. Susan.
Yeah, we know that it's bullshit what they try to pass off as what they found.
Correct.
And Maz in chat said it's insulting, and that's exactly what I wanted to say. That it's freaking insulting for them to carry on like that. Not one trial, but two separate trials,
Two separate trials. Correct.
and not to worry
100%
about
correct.
Cuss Road.
Correct. In actual fact, remember when they spoke to Colburn, when Mr. Kratz spoke to Colburn and said, so it was a burial site, but it turned out to be. And remember, Colburn just put his head down and said, yeah, it turned out to be nothing. And that's it. That's the whole discussion of Cuss Road. Alice, do you have a comment, please?
Empower Building in chat says, dogs not allowed there by order of the sheriff is the giveaway. Yes,
Correct.
I completely agree. Completely agree with that 100%. That was the whole
Yep.
point of them getting the dogs there in the first place. You know what I mean? Was to sniff stuff out, to find something. And when the dog does follow its nose and its scent and finds something, it's not allowed to continue its job. You know what I mean?
Correct. 100% correct. That's the giveaway, guys, because you saw in that picture, Fausk, who I believe that's the dog handler there with Loof, had a leash, right? So they can leash the dog. And you can see where the crime scene tape was. The crime scene tape was nowhere near the clandestine burial site. So why not simply bring Loof on a leash, say, okay, where's Loof going? Oh my God, Loof is going directly here. There must be Teresa Horbach's scent. Wait a minute, what's Teresa Horbach's scent doing there? At a peat moss bag, at a wooden pallet. Something is not right. Alice, do you have a comment?
Pete Moss says, sorry, Clive has joined us. Hi, Clive. Nice to see you. He says, I bet there was a body found at Cuss Road and reports were written but conveniently lost. Or they just
That's a possibility.
Yeah. Or they just
That's a possibility.
Or they just weren't written at all, Doc. I mean, how many
That's a
reports should have
possibility.
been written that weren't written? You know what I mean? So,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Because that now brings into question what Susan said last podcast. If they found her there, why didn't they make it work? Why couldn't they bring Stephen to Cuss Road? And there had to be a valid reason why it wouldn't have worked. And I'll tell you right now, my hypothesis is whatever was found there was likely the remains of Teresa Horbach and her effects, her personal effects. That's how they identified her. They took her away or her remains away very early on, secreted out there. So whoever went back there to Cuss Road to do any diggings, they found nothing. She was long gone, right? And so the guys could have simply been let's take whatever we found. Let's identify what we found first. They kept it quiet. So quite clearly, whatever they found could not work with Stephen having brought Teresa Halbach there, right? Because you saw the pictures. There are hundreds of them. That whatever was at Cuss Road was a major crime scene. It wasn't a minor one. It was a major one. Jack 61.
Oh, absolutely. And I apologize. The scaling that I tried didn't work, so it's something I'll have to work on
No,
later.
not at all. Not at all. Thank you so much.
So
Alice.
for
Yes, Neverly.
so for them to invent the whole crime scene in front of Steven's trailer, that tells me that whatever they found on Cuss Road was so massive that they wanted to hide that for all costs, right? At any
Correct.
price.
That's
Because
a very
for
good
them,
point.
yeah, for them to kind of abandon that or hide it, not abandon, but hide it completely, and to make it more complicated by filling this bullshit narrative that it happened the way they said it happened. So imagine what was found over there. And they couldn't
Yes,
afford for the investigators to go back and for the defense to go back and to find what actually happened because they
correct.
needed Stephen. So
100%
this is a
correct.
massive operation.
Yeah.
Massive.
Oh, it is. It is. But you don't need a huge amount of people, right? You got to understand. You don't need a huge amount
Oh
of people.
no. No,
You
no,
only
no.
need. You
Two,
only need a
three who
small.
are going to dictate where and how it's going to be executed. That's all. Everybody
You
else
need.
falls in line.
Correct. You need a small inner circle. So if you go in there very early, this is my hypothesis. You go in there very early and you find something, you remove it immediately, right? You remove it immediately from that area. Then you call in everybody after everything has been removed and they go, I didn't see anything. So it's all documented down in reports that nothing was found. But what was found
Also,
was removed early, very early on, Neverly.
correct. Also, we didn't know that some of the law enforcement didn't question, hey, what's going on over here or whatever, and they were told off. We don't know that. And they wouldn't necessarily put that in report. Oh, I so and so question Sheriff Pagel that this didn't make sense, or that this is misleading, or that this is dishonest. You know what I mean? They're not going to put
Yes.
that in the report. So
Yep.
we don't know.
Correct.
Maybe somebody did speak
Correct.
up.
Correct. Now, on that, this is a great segue, guys. This is shenanigans number 2, right? This is shenanigans number 2. This is a CASO report on page 134, right? And this was written by Sergeant Bill Tyson. Now, have a read of what Tyson wrote on November the 7th, 2005. Neverly, can you see this? Can you see the CASO report? Neverly.
Yes, 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 I can.
Yep.
Just
Can
give me
you read
1
it out?
second, please.
Yep.
Yes, of course.
Yep.
Sure. No
Yep.
problem.
So this is page
That's
CASO
bullshit.
page.
Oh,
Yep. Have a read
19B.
of this. Yep. This is 19B. This is CASO page 134. You know that this cannot be right. Neverly, you ready?
Okay, yes. Our search for firearms had ended, and we exited Barbara Yanda's residence at 15:08 hours or 3:08 p.m. After clearing from Barbara Yanda's residence, we were notified the Wisconsin State Crime Lab was on the scene and on Cass Road. So the crime lab was at Cass Road,
Yep.
and we
I'm
were
100%
requested to
correct.
come back to the area to assist the Wisconsin State Crime Lab. Yeah, with what?
Now, the
Upon our
Wisconsin State,
arrival,
sorry, Neverly, the Wisconsin State Crime Lab, that truck, that yellow truck, is
uh-huh.
3 people: John Erdl, Guang Zhang, who's a photographer, and Charles Cates. 3 people.
and why the fuck would they need Colburn, Link, and Tyson's help? What the
Twice.
fuck?
Twice. Because Colburn, Lenk, and Tyson were called out to Cuss Road at 10:58 in the morning, 10:58 in the morning, and they were called back. Neverly, continue.
Sure. Upon our arrival, the potential area of suspicion had been blocked off by the crime scene tape, and I did check in with investigator Dietering. I notified him that Sergeant Colburn, Lieutenant Lang, and I would be entering the crime scene area to assist the Wisconsin State Crime Lab. It shall be noted, this was an area that was discovered earlier in the day by search volunteers who had located an area approximately 3 feet by 3 feet that appeared to be disturbed soil.
Hold on. Read out the size, the dimensions of the clandestine burial site. Read it out again, Neverly.
3 feet by 3 feet. That's like
That's
1 meter by 1 meter.
That's a coffee table. That's a coffee table size.
Yep.
Jack 61.
It's a
You
pallet.
taking note?
It's a pallet.
3 feet by 3 feet.
Yeah, I got to tell you, the way they had those lots situated was a hell of a lot bigger than 3 feet by 3 feet, and so was that fucking tarp.
Yep, correct. Thank you, Susan.
After the photography by the state crime lab was completed, Lieutenant Lang, Sergeant Colburn, and I began digging up the area and quickly found out this was not a possible grave or burial site. Really? How convenient.
Quickly found out.
Yeah. Upon reporting those findings to investigator Dietering, the crime scene tape had been removed and the area was reopened. Oh, really?
Now, can you see that what Tyson wrote is 100% plutonium grade bullshit? Do you guys agree?
Hell yes.
Susan.
They got there at 3 in the afternoon. They quickly discovered it was way after dark with all the lights and, such
Correct.
bullshit.
Exactly.
Wait,
and 3 by 3 feet, what would hold that? First of all, if that's correct, that's
Correct.
And why
trunk.
would three crime lab professionals need the help of Colburn, Link, and Tyson?
When
Yeah.
they had 15 people there.
Yeah, correct. To dig, and it was Tyson, Lincoln, Colburn that told the crime lab, nah, there's not a burial site. We can go home, boys. Can you believe this shit? Can you believe this shit?
Unreal.
This is a 3 foot. This is a 3 foot by 3 foot. My grandmother could have dug up that site 3 foot by 3 foot, and she's been dead for 40 years, right? She could have dug that site up. So are we now to believe that Tyson writes a report that it took 6 of them with all those people? I think Jack 61 counted 16 people at that site at Cuss Road. Are you trying to tell me that they called back Lenk, Colburn, Tyson to go and help the crime lab dig up a 3 foot by 3 foot area, and then Tyson, Lenk, and Colburn said, nah, that's not a clandestine burial site. We can go home, boys. Take the crime scene tape down.
Quickly.
Guys,
And where is the Wisconsin State Crime Lab photography after it had been completed?
Correct. Guys, am I hallucinating here, or is this report total bullshit? Jack 61.
It's complete bullshit. You got 3 guys from the crime lab there. Why do they need these people?
Yeah, but they could have got the other 15 people that were standing around.
That too, if they didn't want to get their hands dirty, but they're from the crime
Really?
lab. That's their job. I mean, but yeah.
So here's the question.
I think they're trying to say the crime lab was only there to photograph. That's what it sounds like.
Oh,
3 people to photograph?
You don't worry. It gets even better. So guys, keep this in your mind. Tyson, Lincoln, Colburn were already called to Cuss Road, right, Jack 61, at 10:58. I checked the CASO report. They were called to go to Cuss Road at 10:58. They then left Cuss Road and went back to Barb Yunder's residence to start documenting all the guns, all the weapons. While they were at Barb Yunder's residence, they got a call to come back to Cuss Road to help the crime lab. The crime lab who can't dig 3 foot by 3 foot, a peat moss bag and a pallet. Guys, are you trying to tell me that it took 5 to 6 people to dig and determine that a 3 foot by 3 foot piece of dirt in a forest is not a clandestine burial site?
And that
Susan.
many hours. And that many hours. I'm sorry.
From the
It's
morning.
insane. It's just fucking insane. How do they
From the
expect
morning.
anybody to believe this shit?
Right.
Oh my
And so
God.
we are meant to believe that the clandestine burial site was nothing but a peat moss bag. Half the fucking investigators were down at Cuss Road with 2 different type of dogs, a cadaver dog, a scent dog. They were turned back. Do not cross the police. Do not cross the. Why not bring in the dogs and say, what do you smell? What do you see? Susan.
They think it's a possible burial site. Why would you not bring a dog, for fuck's sake?
That's exactly
They wouldn't
correct.
even have had to dig if they had the dog there and he didn't
That's
smell
100%.
anything.
That's
And-
100%.
And the coroner.
100%
And
correct.
do we believe that was found by search volunteers? I don't.
No, the search volunteers was Bushman and his team, Team Search A. It wasn't. See, what Tyson wrote was complete and utter bollocks. It was found by Bushman and his team, right? It wasn't found by. Remember that they were preventing anyone from going anywhere. They wanted to know where people were searching. Are you trying to tell me that members of the public just happened to stumble upon a peat moss bag? It was found by Bushman, and it was found by Bushman
and his dog.
And probably his dog, his canine dog,
Yeah.
and said, shit, we need to freeze this area. We need to clean it up now. Sorry, Alice, did you have a comment? You're probably busting your computer.
Yeah, I know, I'm screaming at the telly. I mean, it's
Put
all
that
a load
warning
of
up, Jack.
it's a load of utter bollocks what they're fucking trying to say about Cuss Road. It really, really is. And I mean, it reminds me, I know, or correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, put the warning up, Jack, because I'm fucking furious. I am livid and I fucking hate this case. I really, really do, because I've seen all this stuff before. I've read it all before. But when you break it down like this, you can see just blatantly how fucking ridiculous and absurd it actually fucking is when you break it down like this. But I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Doc. Was this the phone call? We've got to change your plans.
That came on. I think was it the 5th? Was it the 5th, Jack 61?
Yeah.
That phone call about the change of plans.
Yeah, that was the 5th.
It was.
I think it was the 5th.
Rev.
But notice, Alice. Notice. Tyson, Lincoln, Colburn were called in so that they could write this report to say there was nothing there. Can you see? This is part of the cover up.
That's it.
And Tyson was the babysitter.
Correct. This was the cover up. Right? So yep, this was the cover up. This is part of the cover up. So therefore, Tyson writes a report. Oh yeah. Me, Lenk and Colburn, who should have never been there, they show up to Cuss Road. They help out of the goodness of their heart. They help the crime lab dig up, and they came to the conclusion this is not a clandestine burial site.
Quickly.
And they put down the crime scene tape. However, you saw the photographs of the floodlights at night illuminating the clandestine burial site with a big blue tarp. And guess what, guys? The crime scene tape is still up. So did they open up Cuss Road again? Nope. No, they didn't. So Tyson is lying his ass off, guys. We called him out in a lie. Alice, do you have any additional comments? I'll get to you in a sec, Susan.
Wankers, dickheads, and I can go on and on and on and on, but I think I'll leave it at that and let everybody in chat have a shot.
Well, can you see, guys? I'm not making this up. I am using official documents that the investigators used in a court of law. And as you can see, it doesn't make any sense, guys. Why on earth, with all those people at Cuss Road, are they going to call up Tyson, Lenk, and Colburn to come back to Cuss Road to help crime scene detectives, crime scene experts to help dig up a 3 foot by 3 foot area? Something is remiss here, guys. Susan, something doesn't make any sense.
This also explains why the metadata is fucked up on the times
That could well be.
of the photography.
That could well be. That's a very, very good point. 100%. So, guys, something is not making any sense here at all, right? So, do we have any questions in chat? Are we all going well?
And what was said about this in trial?
Nothing.
Very little.
Almost
Nothing.
Yep.
Nothing. When they spoke to Colburn, who said, no, nothing was found, they then spoke with Erdl, and Erdl goes, no, it wasn't a clandestine burial site. It was nothing. Jack 61.
I do have a question, and I can't. I'm sure I've probably read it, but Doug, do you remember what time the crime lab showed up over there? So we know that the other guys. Oh, you're getting to it. Okay.
Well, Jack 61, can you segue into the next picture, please?
Yep.
It's 19C. Susan, do you have a comment?
No, Doc. Sorry.
Alice, do you have a comment?
Yeah, Andy B says, One Bushman and His Dog, a new Netflix series.
Oh, no question. And you know that Bushman was very loyal to Kaserik, right?
Yeah.
And Bushman appears out of nowhere for one day, never gets to testify, never gets to write a report, and essentially disappears. Now, have a look at this. This is November the 7th. I checked the in and out log sheet because every time somebody went to the command post, they had to sign in and sign out. Look at this. The crime lab, this is November the 7th. The crime lab, and it's written down here, crime lab, Erdl, Kate, Guangzhang. Guangzhang is the photographer. He's the crime scene photographer. They check in at 2:40. 2:40. Have a look at when they check out. Does anyone want to tell me the time that they check out? You can see it, out. What does it say? What time do they check out?
2:51?
11 minutes later?
2:51.
What is the list on the right side, Doc?
That's on the right-hand side. That's the numbers. That's the time. On the right-hand side, that's 417 must be the officer who's checking them in and checking them out. It's the badge number, I believe. Jack 61.
I think that it says in 1417. In 1417.
No, 1417 is the person who clocks them in and clocks them out. It's a badge number.
Actually,
Jack 61.
I think it's 417 is the badge number.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It's the badge number. On the left-hand side.
They're there 11 minutes.
They're there 11 minutes.
What the hell?
Yeah, have a look.
And this is before Link and Colburn and Tyson get there, because they got there at 3:08.
That's correct. After 3:08. So wait a minute. This can't be right, because we know that Forsky. Remember what Forsky said? She arrived there after 1:30. Remember, after 1:30. That's when she went with Loof, and then Loof went down to Cuss Road. So wait a minute. What? This doesn't make any sense. They're clocking in at 2:40. They're clocking out 11 minutes later. Where did they go? Where did the crime lab go? Because I checked the whole sheet. There's no other entries or exits for the crime lab. Wait a minute. That can't be right. And you can see that Fassbender checked out at the same time that the crime lab checked out. You can see it, Fassbender DCI. So what's going on here,
Roar
guys?
was also there. Why was fucking Roar there?
Exactly.
He was there.
Exactly.
Now remember, this This is a check-in point. I don't know whether the check-in point was on the Avery salvage yard or whether they had a check-in point near Cuss Road, because Cuss Road was not very far from the check-in point. It wasn't far. It was like literally a couple of minutes away. So, guys, can anyone explain that? Susan, what's going on?
Maybe the crime lab left ASY and went to Cuss right after that.
That's a possibility. But how come they never checked in and checked out again?
Do we have a Cuss Road check-in, check-out?
That's what I don't know. I haven't seen one. Jack 61, have you seen one? A check-in, check-out for Cuss Road?
You know, I don't think I have.
Right, and how come they never put to Cuss Road?
Don't we have one where Bushman checks in but doesn't check out?
Yeah, don't worry. I've got it all.
You can check out anytime. You can check in anytime you like.
Yeah. He must have thought he was
never leave.
He thought he was in Hotel California. Jack 61.
Yeah, they should have started one at the roadblock, if nothing else. But I just don't remember seeing one. Maybe I have, but
correct. And it goes to show, guys, there's so much in those check-in and check-out sheets. We've got to do a podcast on just those. The stuff that I'm finding on those sheets, there were the dog handlers everywhere. They were checking in and checking out. The place was a hive of activity, right? But this is interesting. This is November the 7th. Somehow the crime lab checks in, checks out, and somehow they end up at Cuss Road with no documentation. It's really, really bizarre. So, Susan, do you have a comment?
No, Doc.
All right. So, guys, I reckon what we do is a couple of more slides because we can't rush this. There's just too much. Jack 61, how long have we gone so far? We've done well over 2 hours?
Just about.
Okay. So let's have a look at
2 hours and 11 minutes.
Okay, let's have a look at the next slide, guys. This crystallized it for me. We'll just wait. It's 19D. 19D. Now have a look at this. And I know Alice is going to explode, right? Now, if you knew nothing about this case, and people in chat, please answer yes or no. Look at the left-hand side. If you knew nothing about this case, what's the first thing that you're going to say that resembles Alice? What does it resemble to you? What's the first thing that... Crime scene?
Yep.
Crime scene? Yep. I don't recall.
Yep.
Yep. Crime scene? I don't recall. What about yourself?
Crime scene.
Crime scene. Susan?
Yep. Crime scene.
Crime scene. Jack 61?
Crime scene.
Neverly?
Crime scene.
Yeah, me too. Crime scene. No question about it. Now, Jack 61, are you able to blow up the blue tarp on the left-hand side? If you notice, they haven't put up the lights yet. The 5 lights are still on the road, on Cuss Road. Now, have a look at this. Do you see the disturbed dirt on the tarp?
No.
Do you see any dirt at all on that tarp?
The right-hand side of it, Doc.
On the right-hand side. Yeah, there's something has been dug out.
Yep.
Hard to make out.
Yeah.
Something has been removed.
Right there.
Something has been. Yep, right there. Something has been removed. Somebody dug something out. Okay, and guess what? Look at that massive tarp that they've got over there. Okay, now I don't see anybody around that blue tarp. Do you see any human beings around that blue tarp, guys?
Nope.
But if Jack 61 zooms out, you can see the crime scene truck. Right? So wait a minute. Did the guys actually get there yet? I don't think they did. You see the crime scene
Yeah,
truck?
yeah, they're down there.
They're down there. They're down there. So who dug that dirt up? Who put the blue tarp down? Who put it down?
What did they do?
Alice.
What the fuck did they do?
Yeah.
Exactly. What is the fucking point? You know what I mean? I really, these 40s really got up my fucking goat, like, they really do. Because just seeing the two 40s side by side with each other proves my fucking point. Curse Road, there is more activity on that fucking road than there ever was on Stephen's fucking property. Which is supposed to be a murder scene and a burial site and somebody being burned in a fucking fire pit. Come on, get a fucking grip. And for people in Wisconsin not to fucking see this, I'm sorry. Yous are dumb as shit and as thick as two planks of fucking wood.
Forsky's gone. The dog's gone. I can't see a dog. Can anyone see a dog in that picture? The dog's gone.
No.
The dog's gone. Yes.
Empower Building says they had no direct evidence pointing to Stephen Avery with the crime scene at Cuss Road. However, they had Stephen's blood in her RAV. This is a half a mile from his house. They could have easily tied Stephen Avery to this scene.
Yes, except it would have been a very convoluted story. Because remember what we discussed, Susan, about the fact that, wait a minute, so Stephen Avery bludgeons her on his property, right? He must have bludgeoned her there. There's no cadaver dog or scent dog evidence that there's any blood on the ground. He then drives her to Cuss Road, kills her there. Where did he dismember her? And why would he then bring the body back with the RAV4 to cremate her in his burn pit and then drive the RAV4 all the way to the pit and no one saw a thing or heard a thing? No one heard any gunshot?
No. I believe that pit was an afterthought after they found this scene. Okay, they staged that burn pit. So they wouldn't have had to have staged that burn pit if they had made the crime happen here at Cuss Road. Stephen brought her over here. He could have dragged her along the berm and brought her over here. Dealt with the car later, put it in his garage. I mean, they had his blood in her vehicle.
Yeah, at that stage, they didn't know who it was.
And if they actually had a crime scene here at Cuss Road, they could have easily tied Stephen to this crime scene.
So the question is, why didn't they?
Yeah, that's a big question to me.
That's the question. What did they find that didn't point to Stephen? What did they find that pointed to somebody else? Or it couldn't have been Stephen. Why was it? Look, guys, I agree with you, Susan. If the state went, look what Stephen did. He bludgeoned her on the head. He drove across the cornfield in her RAV4 and killed her there. You could almost believe it. But the state never went for that. The state never went for that. Why didn't the state go for that?
Why?
There had to be something.
That's the question.
Yeah, there has to be something that we've not seen yet.
And was there evidence there of her being dismembered?
That's a very except of course, guys, this story is much more complex. Why? Because remember the cadaver dogs, I think it was the cadaver dogs that hit on two Yonder burn barrels on the fifth, guys. So the dogs already sniffed human decomposition in two of the Yonder burn barrels. Right? That's on the 5th. And what other complication have we got? We've got the smell. Remember what Groel smelt on the 31st? He said he smelled something he never smelled before. Right?
So you've electrical.
No. Not Groel. That was Metz. Metz is the one that smelled the electrical smell. Groel is the smell. He smelled a burning body. Because he goes, it's something that I've never ever smelled before.
He was
Remember?
a worker at the quarry.
He was we were working at the quarry near County Highway Q, which is a long, long way away from Cuss Road and also from Stephen Avery's burn pit. So a human body must have...
The girls that snuck out and saw somebody,
yes,
couple people, by a burn barrel, was it?
In the quarry. So something is not making sense here, guys, right? But the greatest mystery of all are the cut, burnt human remains. Where? In the Manitowoc County gravel pit. Right?
Where
so what's
never
Stephen
wanted
doing?
to spend more than 20 seconds
20
there.
seconds, probably.
They did not want to talk about Cuss Road. Therefore, he needed to come up with something so grotesque and shocking and horrifying. So he invented the whole presser. Remember that? If you're
Yes.
younger than 15, blah, blah, with all of the bullshit that he said that we went over, like discussed ad nauseum, right?
Yes.
And they wanted to actually keep it simple. That's why they wanted it simple. That's why they put everything in Steven's trailer, garage, and burn pit.
Well, as a perfect segue, Jack 61, are you able to show the picture on the right-hand side?
Yes.
So what happened on the left-hand side at Cuss Road is the true crime scene. In my opinion, just a hypothesis, that's where they found Teresa Halbach, or part of Teresa Halbach and other personal effects. On the right-hand side is the manufactured crime scene to point to Stephen, right? So have a look at this crime scene. Alice is going to go crazy. There's nobody there. There's a little bit of... Notice, guys, the crime scene tape where it is, Jack 61, it's very close to the burn pit. It doesn't extend half a kilometer in either direction. It's very close to the burn pit. Jack 61, tell me, what's the difference?
It's a massive difference. It's
huge.
And there's nobody there. But there's another problem. We were talking about a minute ago about this everything. Why would Stephen, if he had actually taken her to Cuss Road and did all this shit, there's another problem that happens on the 9th. At least we think it's on the 9th. That's what the metadata shows. And that's actually there's many phone calls, dispatch calls from Calumet County. And Sipple calling in and saying, "Hey, I'm over here in the quarry and I've got 2 gallons of human bones over
buckets.
here.
I need some
help. I need 40, 50 people out here to scour this place." That's a big fucking deal.
Yep, huge.
2 miles. 2 miles away.
Correct. The crime scene was being expanded. You're right, guys. Fantastic. So in other words, Neverly.
Sorry, I can't not go over and pass over Pagel's phone call when somebody asked him, "Boss, is it true that you found body parts?" And he goes, "Yes, blood, body parts, bloody key." He said, "Bloody key." He goes, "Oh yes, everything." And they were not talking about Stephen's burn pit.
No.
Exactly. And everything paid off, right? And the coroner went to the fucking Manitowoc County gravel pit and pronounced Teresa dead there.
Dead. Correct. Jack 61, we got to find that.
Doesn't want to talk about it.
No,
yeah.
Correct.
I can get that phone call for you, Doc. No problem.
We've got to get to that phone call. We'll probably play it a little bit later because what I want to do now, guys. Oh, sorry, Susan, do you have a comment?
I was just wondering, what day did they do the burn barrel polka?
That's a good question. I have to go check it. I think it was fairly early on where they commanded the burn barrels. But there was also the burn barrel that was picked up at the Redonce quarry, Redonce deer camp. And that was very interesting because that was hit upon by, I think, the scent dog. So there's a couple of more reports we need to go through. But yeah, there was, because didn't Mr. Kratz order the burn barrels to come back? Do you remember
Jinx
that?
Says that was the 7th. Yes, he did.
So. Yes,
I think it was Stephen's barrel. he ordered back, wasn't it?
I think so. There was Stevens, there's Yonder burn barrels, and also the burn barrel at the Cuss Road, near the deer camp. So there was something really weird going on with those burn barrels. And I remember, I forgot the name of the lady who did the research. She spent years going over that research of the burn barrels and still couldn't work it out. In the end, she was still confused. So there's something weird going on with those burn barrels. Alice, do you have a comment?
Yes.
Oh, no.
Just look at Cuss Road, right? That
Yeah.
tape is all the way up the middle there. It's all the way to the left. It's all the way to the right. It's right up that wee dirt road and everything like that for nothing, right? Just for a bag of peat, right?
Moss and a
Other
pallet.
picture is at the back of Stephen's garage. Now, this is where she's supposed to have been murdered, burned,
Correct.
dismembered, everything. There is a tiny wee fucking circle round the burn pit. That crime scene tape should have been round the whole fucking garage. It should have been up the middle of the garage in between the red building that you can see in the bottom left corner. It should have been coming right the way down at the bottom of the picture. It should have been coming at the top of the picture. And they're trying to say that that's a fucking murder scene? Really?
Yep. Correct. Correct.
Oh, I mean,
So, yep. Correct. So if that was a clandestine burial site, or even if it was just a peat moss bag, they could have put a hell of a lot less crime scene tape. But look where they put the crime scene tape. They put the crime scene tape right next to where Cuss Road was. So quite clearly, as Jack 61 just showed, there's a big, big blue tarp. You know that the guys brought in 2 floodlights and illuminated the area, and someone has been digging, right? So someone has been digging some dirt, and I can see the dirt. It looks like it's either on the blue tarp or very close to the blue tarp, right? And there's nobody there. The crime scene guys obviously aren't around it yet. So I reckon that some type of prior investigation took place before the crime lab guys got there. So what I'm trying to get at is this. Tyson, Lenk, Colburn, the crime scene guys had missed the party. The party was already done. Whatever was found there was gone, was already gone. So what they're doing is they're restaging the crime scene. They're covering it up, they're cleaning it up so there's nothing there. And it's very clever because it's plausible deniability, right, Jack 61? I went there, I dug up, I saw nothing, everything is cool, right? Jack 61.
That's exactly right.
And I have a feeling that's exactly what they did.
Unbelievable.
That's exactly what they did. Yep. So guys, what we'll do, I want to go through John Ertle's testimony, and guys, then we'll call it quits. Are you happy with that, guys? Because we've covered quite a lot and I don't want to rush it. Are we happy with that? Alice?
Yeah, Doc, that sounds great.
Sounds good, Doc.
Okay.
Yeah.
So guys, check this out. So it's 19E, right? Now this is a ripper. So we know that John Ertle was there, right? He's part of the crime lab team. He was at Cuss Road, right? So he's part of the Wisconsin State Crime Laboratory. And he's part of the field response unit, and he goes with 2 other guys, right? Now, have a look at this. He actually mentions Bloodhound, but you are not going to believe what Buting did. You're not going to believe this, guys. So let's have a look at this testimony. This is Fallon questioning John Ertle, and have a look what Buting does. So, Susan, are you happy to read the answer? A for answer.
Sure, Doc.
And Beverly, are you happy to read Q for question? So
Sure.
This is John Ertle being questioned, and the Jack 61. Would you like to read Buting? All right, guys, whenever you're ready.
Okay, so I'm Fallon. So
You're
your
Fallon.
conclusion with respect to the possibility of any type of burial site, was there? Was what?
Well, at that point, I was also informed that they had been working a bloodhound with a scent from.
Objection as to hearsay at this point?
That's fine. Mr. Ertl, just in terms of based on all of the knowledge you had available to you, and in particular your examination of this location, what did you conclude regarding the possibility or no possibility of a burial site?
My preliminary indication was that this was not a burial site.
All right. So, guys, can you see what
Preliminary indication.
Yeah, my preliminary. Can you see what Buting did? Buting prevented Ertl from saying a bloodhound with the scent from Teresa Hallbach.
Yep.
Why? Why did he do that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Because the jury would have heard, hey, wait a minute. What the hell's a bloodhound doing that's scented with Teresa Hallbach scent doing at Cuss Road at the clandestine burial site? Why did Buting object?
I don't think he saw the importance for
Question.
some reason. Forest and trees or something. I don't know.
That's bizarre, guys.
It seems like he was focused on the hearsay point, exactly what he said, versus the message that would have been conveyed.
Right, but
You know what I mean?
the jury would have heard him say scented from Teresa Hallbach. The jury would have thought, wait a minute, what's a scent dog doing down at Cuss Road that's scented with Teresa Hallbach? Didn't Ertl just say it was nothing? It's not a clandestine burial site. So what's her scent doing down there? Jack 61.
That's exactly right.
I guess a brain fart or something.
Crazy, because Buting was so brilliant, and then he prevented Ertl from saying Teresa Hallbach. And guys, that's not hearsay, because that's a report written by Forsky, right? Are you trying to tell me that Buting didn't have that report, Susan?
Well, it says he was saying that he was informed that they'd been working. So that is
Right.
hearsay in a court of law.
Right,
What someone else told him.
right. But
Yeah,
it's
that's what I'm
opinion,
saying. It's like a technicality that he was
technicality.
focused on versus what he could have gained if he finished the sentence.
Correct. But wouldn't it have been powerful had Ertl said, yeah. Oh, I heard that a bloodhound had been scented with the scent of Teresa Hallbach.
Oh, it would be huge.
I've just shown you the picture of Loof down at Cuss Road with Forsky. Imagine if they showed that. Imagine if Buting put up that picture, if he had the picture and said, Mr. Ertl, is that the dog you're referring to? Yeah. They prevented that dog from crossing the line. Alice.
You can see what Susan was saying about the line of questioning. I mean, if he'd have said, well, at that point, I witnessed the bloodhound being scented, then I don't think Butin would have objected. But because he says, well, at that point, I was also informed, so that means it's coming from somebody else. So that's why he objected to it. Which, in a way, I agree with it, but I also see your point as well, Doc, is why did he not just let him finish that last wee bit and say, with a scent from Teresa? Because, I think that would have got the jury's mind going.
Yeah, but not only that.
Teresa there if she's been killed on the salvage yard.
Yeah, but not only that, you now introduce Loof and Forsky. Do you understand? You've opened that door. Buting just closed the door. And Jack 61, guys, do you realize that Forsky nor Loof is mentioned in the entire trial? In the entire Stephen Avery trial?
I recognize it now. We talked about it a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
I really didn't realize it.
Yep. And there you go. If he had put up that picture to say, excuse me, Mr. Ertl, is that the dog you're talking about? Do you know why that dog wasn't allowed to cross the crime scene tape? Then you could have brought in Pagel, right? You could have said, Sheriff, your team is the one that called in these dogs. Why did you prevent Lou from crossing that crime scene tape, even with a handler on a leash dog? Why did you prevent it? Why? So hence you could have uncovered the shenanigans that were going on and the cover up. Okay, I know we're quarterbacking. I know hindsight's 2020, but Buting is the one that killed that conversation. Guys, can you see? He killed it right there.
Yeah, I think it was a technicality, and I think it was
Technicality.
unwittingly, because I just don't think I don't think his mind was there.
Right, because do you see what Fallon said? He goes, "That's fine."
That's
In
fine.
other
Yep.
words, he didn't even object. He didn't. Fallon's going, "Thank God, thank God."
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
He didn't want that shit brought up.
Saved by the bell.
Saved by the bell. Now, guys, we'll do a couple of more slides, but have a look how embarrassing this is. Jack 61, can we have 19G? And Alice, would you like to read Buting, which is, can you see it? Can you see the slide?
Yeah, I can see it. Yep.
So that's the question. And Neverly, would you like to read A for the answer? So
Sure.
this is Buting questioning Ertl. Whenever you're ready, Alice.
In any event, no one asked you to go into Mr. Avery's house or garage that first night, November 5th, 2005.
That's true.
And while it was raining very hard, you obviously couldn't do much outside.
Right. We were basically waiting for the wrecker crew and trailer to arrive.
So you had time to kill. And rather than use you to search Mr. Avery's residence, they directed you to a golf cart, right?
Yes. What?
So guys, can you see what Buting did? He goes, wait a minute. You guys were out at the Avery salvage yard on November the 5th. Yeah. You had plenty of time to search Stephen Avery's trailer. Yeah, because it was raining. Yeah. And what did you do? I went and searched. I was told to search a golf cart.
That's ridiculous. Oh my
So
God.
Ma Avery's
Yep.
golf cart.
So guys,
Yeah.
can you see the scam? Right? The three amigos, Remica, Colburn, Lenk, went inside Stephen Avery's trailer for nearly 2 hours while the crime scene detectives were twiddling their thumbs because it was raining. So instead
Because
of
they were stretched for resources.
correct, but they were just there waiting for the wrecking crew. They could have gone in and processed the crime scene. And you know what, Jack 61, you know what, guys? This pissed off Ertl. In my opinion, pissed him off. And that's why when he went to the burn pit, he refused to take photos. Because what did he say? This has been obviously tampered
Altered.
with.
Disturbed.
manipulated,
It's been altered.
He should have
Altered.
photographed it anyway. in my
Exactly.
opinion.
He should have, but he didn't. He didn't. And look how they treated their own crime team. They went to check a golf cart instead of Stephen Avery's trailer. And mind you guys, remember, Brutus, the cadaver dog, did a hit inside Stephen Avery's trailer, and Ertl was not informed about it till later. Guys, you've got to be shocked. This is a joke. This has got to be a joke. Jack 61.
Definitely with intent, and they ran back in there, Remiker, Lincoln, Coburn, to get their blood samples and didn't tell anybody.
Didn't tell anybody. Correct. And there's the crime scene. Poor Ertl and his team just twiddling their thumbs. So, guys, quite clearly there's something going on here, guys. You can see it through the testimony. Ertl was pissed. All right, guys, I reckon what we do, we'll just do a couple of more slides and we'll call it quits because we've got a lot more to go through. Now, you're not going to believe this. Ertl was questioned in the Stephen Avery trial by Fallon, right? So who would like to read Fallon? That's the question. Who would like to do that part?
I'll do it, Doc.
You do it? And who would like to do the answer?
I can do it. What
You
slide
can
though?
do it. This is slide 19H. Can you see it?
I think she's working from her own copy. You got it, Neverly?
19H. You got it, Neverly?
I don't think I have it.
Right. Can you see the screen?
Let me see.
Yep.
Yes.
If you can't see it, can you see it? 19H. All right. So this is Fallon questioning Ertl. Right, Jack 61. Let's go for it.
Approximately how long did your examination of that particular site take?
Well, the first thing, they wanted to get permission from whoever owned that property. They needed to figure out who owned that property. They got written permission from that person. Zhang and I then went in and photographed the area. We sent Chuck back then to the salvage yard to do the latent fingerprint processing on the two vehicles from the night before. This is about 3 in the afternoon. So it was dry, wasn't raining at that point. So we sent him out to do that. A warrant was then obtained for the burials area to search that. And then I began to excavate this humus-like material, moving it on the tarp, digging down. I dug down a little ways, and the white plastic perimeter was actually underneath all of the humus material. On the flip side of the white plastic was the label peat moss. It was an old bale of peat moss. Under that plastic was the remnants of old wooden pallet that was decomposing into the soil. I picked the pieces of wood out. If Jack can just
19I.
I picked the pieces of the wood out down into the soil a little bit and ran into roots. Fine roots mat from the surrounding plants was well under the entire peat bag. And where there were little slits, small perforations in the peat bag, there were little shoots starting to come up through it. So again, indicating to me that this area had not recently been disturbed. I then dug down past the roots and looked at the soil layering. It looked like it again had not been disturbed. But at that point, I concluded this was not a burial site.
All right. Right. So, Jack 61, do you have any comments?
Are you fucking kidding me?
This
Such bullshit.
Right. So he went on a horticultural experience where he dug down, found roots, found an old wooden pallet, and he concluded that it was not a clandestine burial site. But do you note who he doesn't mention? Who doesn't he mention? Susan.
I'm sorry.
The three.
Blank, Colburn, Tyson.
And Tyson. He doesn't mention the three amigos. There's no mention that Tyson, Lank, and Colburn helped him dig, mind you, a 3 foot by 3 foot area, and that they indeed concluded it couldn't have been a burial site. So, guys, can you see, Susan?
If it didn't even appear to have been disturbed, why was it suspect to begin with?
Correct. So, in other words, they basically went round the forest, saw this little area that wasn't disturbed, and called in the cavalry, who then concluded, nah, it's not disturbed earth.
There's nothing here.
You know what this is? This is
Neverly.
pure bullshit, of course, manipulation and deflection, which reminds me exactly of Alex Murdoch's his testimony when he went on and on and on about the sunflower seeds.
That's right.
He
The
was talking
sunflower
about
seed.
that forever, never talked about the murder per se, of
But
what
did you,
actually happened and how
but
he felt.
Neverly,
This
but
is the
Neverly,
same thing.
this is the same thing. This is
Yeah,
incredible level of detail that's unnecessary. Jack 60,
exactly. Too
this is
much
unnecessary
detail.
level of detail.
Unnecessary.
Jack
Same thing with
Well,
61.
Alex Murdoch.
well, add to that, you would have thought that they would have brought in some documentation that they would have memorialized the whole process. At least a few photos, snap a few for the kids to show what we did, what we found. But no, there's not jack shit that I've ever seen.
Correct. So look, guys, what we'll do, we'll call it quits here because we're now going to enter into shenanigans that took place elsewhere. But guys, I hope you'll agree. I didn't manipulate anything. I didn't enhance anything. I only used official documents that are available, freely available. You can get them from our website or elsewhere. Guys, you have to agree. There were definitely shenanigans taking place at Cuss Road, right? You've got Tyson, Lenk, Colburn, who were called twice to Cuss Road. And here you've just seen testimony by Earl saying, yeah, I dug. It was just me. My other guy, we sent somebody else off 3 foot by 3 foot. I dug a couple of feet or wherever. I found roots. I found an old pallet. And there are no photographs. None. But we can see at Cuss Road, all those people there. Are you trying to tell me that all those people were there twiddling their thumbs while doing a murder investigation and then coming to the conclusion, just a peat moss bag? And I think Pete Moss said little shoots in November, right? Pete Moss, how funny is that name? This has got to be the biggest lot of bullshit I have read in this entire case. Guys, would you agree? So have I successfully shown the shenanigans at Cuss Road? Alice, yes or no? Do you believe that there were shenanigans? Yes or no? And people in
Yes.
chat. No
Yes,
question.
there was.
Thank you,
Without a
Alice.
doubt.
Thank you, Alice. I don't recall. Shenanigans or no shenanigans?
Definitely shenanigans.
Susan, shenanigans or no shenanigans?
Oh yeah, I prefer to call it bullshit. But yes.
Bullshit. Yep. Jack 61, shenanigans or no shenanigans?
Shenanigans on steroids.
Correct. And finally, Neverly, shenanigans or no shenanigans?
Mega shenanigans. And Dr. Silkman, nobody ever would question. There isn't even a question that you're manipulate or whatever. I know why you're saying, and we
No,
appreciate
you
that.
have
But
to,
you
because
use nothing
that's
but
the way,
documents and facts.
that's the way guilters work. Guilters work. Oh,
Yeah.
come on, they're doing something. But guys, you've seen the pictures yourselves. You've seen the reports yourselves. Now look, in isolation, Jack 61, back me up. In isolation, you're going, what's the connection? How is all
Right.
this connected? But when you see it as a narrative like this, step by step, you're going, oh my God. So you've got Tyson, Lenk, Colburn being called twice to nothing, to see nothing. And they're the ones that dug at the clandestine burial site, and they determined, no, it wasn't. Bring down the crime scene tape. Quite clearly, you saw images of at night time with the floodlights illuminating the whole area, and Jack 61 blew up the picture. There's a big blue tarp there, right? They prevent the dogs from crossing the line, right? They're the ones that brought in the dogs, right? And Lord knows, they stop the dogs, and they conclude at the end that it was nothing but a peat moss bag. All of it, if it was a peat moss bag, all of them should be fired on the spot. Jack 61, do you agree? Yes or no? For wasting time, energy, resources, a warrant, the dogs, you name it. Jack 61.
Absolutely. I can tell you something else, and it's even worse. It always bothered me after we found it out, but this metadata getting screwed with the photos. Now we know really why they did it. I'm sorry. I'd hate to put that innuendo out there, but that's how I see it.
Look, Cuss Road, in my opinion, was where they found parts of Teresa Hallbark and parts of her effects. Susan asked one of the best questions I've ever heard, and that is, why didn't they tie Stephen up with Cuss Road? Something that they found at Cuss Road pointed to somebody else or elsewhere. So they had to restage Cuss Road. How did they do it? They sanitized it. And if you notice what they did, they dug it out. But Brutus was going to have the final laugh. And we'll talk about that later. Brutus was going to have the final laugh. The scent dog had the final laugh. There was something going on at that area that was huge. Jack 61.
One final comment before we wrap up on this, and I'm not sure if you've got it in the slides or not. Maybe you do. And that is the unfiled warrant. And what? Okay.
Don't worry, Jack 61. Was it Sunshine Christina that found that document?
Yeah.
That's the missing piece. That's the Rosetta Stone. That unfiled search warrant. And look what Erdl said. We needed permission from the homeowners.
That's right. That's exactly right. And they got, and I actually had the signed piece of paper, but what they found there was described in much more detail.
But at the same time, he also said we had to wait for their search warrant, but they had permission from the homeowners.
Well, they didn't at first.
That's right. They had the search warrant, and they described in the search warrant what they found. Because remember, Bushman was there from the morning.
Oh, and that was the unfiled. Yeah.
Yep.
However, in court, he said they waited for the search warrant. Did he not?
Yep.
What we just read?
They got permission. They were waiting for the search warrant, but then they got permission from the homeowners, so they didn't have to serve the search warrant. But the damage was done because Sunshine Christina got the search warrant, and they detailed exactly what they found at Cuss Road to the letter. And those idiots even mentioned the dogs. Right, Jack 61?
They did.
When you see it, your head is going to explode because none of that was brought up in the trial. Had that been brought up in the trial, everyone in the jury would have said, fuck me. Nothing happened at the Avery salvage yard. Everything happened at Cuss Road. What the hell are you guys doing?
Absolutely.
Jack 61.
Absolutely. And I guarantee you that Beauty and String or FOIA didn't see any of that shit.
No, they didn't.
None of these.
They didn't. And how Sunshine Christina got it was by fluke. They accidentally released it. That never should have seen the light of day. That document now ties everything in together. But like I said, next week, guys, when we do part 4, we'll hopefully finish part 4. There were other shenanigans at another quarry that the dogs hit upon. And yes, it does involve Cherie Culhane. You're not going to believe this shit.
Oh, my God.
Right? So it all comes together that, guys, everything happened outside the Avery salvage yard and everything was brought back in. It's so obvious now. It's not funny anymore. And it's just not me, right? People in chat, if you knew I was bullshitting and making it all up, you'd call me out straight away. But there it is in black and white. And did John Erdl ever mention Tyson, Lenk, and Colburn? How embarrassing. Are you trying to tell me that 5 people, 5, dug up a 3-foot by 3-foot area? 5, and Tyson, Lenk, and Colburn told the crime scene detective, John Erdl, it's not a clandestine burial site. We can go home, boys.
And why, if they needed somebody to dig out 3 by 3, Why didn't they bring that skid steer? They had
Yep.
it.
Correct.
Also, I'm thinking, why, as Susan, the question of the year, I guess, why didn't they tie Stephen to that area? Unless they found something that belonged to somebody else other than Stephen, I don't know, or actual person, I don't know, but something big must have happened.
Possibly
I
Also,
think
even
so.
Dr. Silkman, here's,
I'm sorry.
go ahead. No,
Possibly
go
even
ahead.
possibly even a witness.
Yeah, a witness, something like that, that cannot be easily hidden or,
The,
buried. No
the
pun
answer,
intended.
the answer is from Bushman. Bushman knows. It's not only Bushman. There's probably one or two more that found something there that gave the game away. And remember what Kathleen Zellner said when she was mapping the cell phone activity? Potentially Teresa Hallbart could have been at Highway Q, very close to Cuss Road, the last cell phone tower ping. Not 100% accurate, but it makes perfect sense. She
Asked what was she doing there?
She could have been tricked to have done a photo
hustle
shoot,
shot.
a hustle shot, and that's where she met her demise there. Susan, do you have a comment?
I just want to point out that who was Bushman's boss for years and years and years?
Tom Kacerek.
Kacerek.
Tom Kacerek. And who was going to appear next on the stand on the 10th?
Tom Kacerek.
Tom Kacerek. And who got arrested on the 9th? Stephen Avery.
Stephen. Yeah.
Correct.
And why didn't defense call Bushman? Because there he is discovering all of this.
No,
And
they
I
knew nothing
understand
about
why
it, Neverly.
prosecution wouldn't put him there. But
They
why?
knew nothing about it. Neverly, they knew nothing about it. In the reports, they said nothing was found. John Erder was there.
Because Bushman never wrote a single report.
Not
so they
one
didn't
report.
know.
Not one report. Except, of course, we found what was on the sheet, the Calumet sheet.
Yeah.
Or the documented. That's what was found at Cuss Road. He actually had documented it. Now, remember, this is the 7th. They had no idea where Teresa Hallbart got murdered, right? So they deep sixed it. Nobody talked about it, right? So what we're going to do next week, hopefully we'll finish it and we'll talk about the other shenanigans that took place at Mitchell's Quarry. Oh my God, you will not believe what happened down there, right? And how it got covered up. Neverly.
Whatever happened with the burial site measurements H1 and H2?
We don't know. We've never seen those pictures. Never seen them. Jack 61. Have you seen H1 and H2?
I think we've seen part of them. I don't think I'm pretty convinced we don't have them all, and there's hundreds and hundreds more that just can't get. I mean, this last batch I tried to get, there's over 200 that city officer, Officer Block, took. I'm told the CD's degraded and the pictures won't show, so your request is denied.
Right. And the incredible thing is this. If you have a look at the batch of photographs that are reportedly from Cuss Road that said, oh, there's this disturbed earth, there's no pictures of disturbed earth. There's just a small block of land, right? You don't know where it's taken from. And the pictures that Jack 61 put up, they don't correspond to the pictures that were taken at that location. So there are photographs of the clandestine burial site that we have not seen. We have not seen those pictures. You don't even see a picture.
I'm convinced of that. Probably
you don't even see a picture of a blue tarp. You don't even see a picture of a blue tarp, right? No. Right. So there's some. Now, John Erdl is at both locations. John Erdl is at Stephen Avery's burn pit. Did he take any photographs? No. John Erdl is at the clandestine burial site. Where are the pictures? Guang Zhang was there. He's a cameraman. Where are those pictures? Have they been censored? Have they been locked away? Right? So quite clearly, we're not getting the full story. But look, guys, let's close it here. It's been a very illuminating discussion, and I hope that you've enjoyed the podcast because I've certainly learned a lot. But again, guys, it's about to get worse, right? So, guys, let's go around the panel. Tell us how you're coming along and how things are happening. Alice, what about yourself?
Yeah, hi Doc. Yeah, doing okay, thanks. There isn't going to be a protest for Luke on the 14th. I think it's now been moved until the 6th of May, I think it is, and we're going to go back to the Scottish Parliament and we're going to hand in the petition and that again. It's not a rowdy protest. I mean, you can come with your banners and things like that. So if you live in or around the Edinburgh area and you're listening, please join us at the Scottish Parliament. Join the Facebook group as well, where you'll get more information. I'm going to wait until I've finished with the dentist and everything like that over the next couple of weeks, and then I'm going to do a video on the new information
Excellent.
that's coming out, just to keep people up to date, sort of thing. Because there's a whole load. I mean, the person that we need to go to get these things looked at is actually the wife of the prosecutor who prosecuted Luke. So where do we turn for there? So, and a lot of people don't know that. So I'm hopefully going to be doing something like that along the line soon. But other than that, I'll just be with Foul Play for the moment, enjoying what we're doing. And we just run as well with Daniel Holt's Gone Place, because that's a bloody eye opener and all. And the more and more we break that down as well, oh my God, it's unbelievable. It really is unbelievable when it comes to Daniel. I mean, especially when you did that DNA presentation, Doc. When you broke that down and you showed that they lied about Daniel's DNA not even being there at all, supposedly, and it's all over the bloody place.
It's all over the place, and that's not me making it up. You saw it with your own eyes.
Yeah, exactly. So I could maybe see Daniel's sister or his family maybe giving you a wee phone call and be like, can you come to America and be our expert, please? Which would be fantastic, because you would put them in their bloody place.
Yeah. If I wasn't terrified of aeroplanes, I would love to do it. But to me, the Daniel's case is probably one of the worst I've ever. Luke Mitchell case is bad. Stephen Avery, Brendan Dassey case are shocking. Daniel Holtzclaw is a tragedy. Is an absolute tragedy and travesty. I've never seen or read so much bullshit in my life. I mean, here with this case, we can see the shenanigans. They're there. They're out in open plain sight. With Daniel's case, it's shocking and terrible. It really is. Very sad, actually. Look, thank you so much, Alice. And thank you so much for your passion. Never change, right? If you don't let out all that passion, there's something wrong with you, Alice. But we appreciate it so much.
Yeah, not on your Nelly, Doc. I will never change. I will say what's on my mind. When I see shit wrong, I will say something about it. So don't worry, I will never change.
Yep, fantastic. Somebody asked, Double D said, would you ever go on the stand for Stephen Avery if KZ ever asked you? They would never listen to me. They wouldn't listen to me. It's as simple as that. You need a high-powered molecular biologist who's probably got a law degree, who can withstand being in a trial. I mean, I've sent a lot of the presentations that we've done on Foul Play directly to Kathleen Zona and also to Laura Nyrider. I haven't heard anything back. So we're doing our part. We're presenting, and also many other fine YouTubers too who work on this case as well and other cases. I present the documents to Kathleen Zona, but Kathleen Zona is pursuing a different angle at the moment, right? But I want people in the audience and chat to get angry to see how they pulled the wool over everyone's eyes, right? Something terrible happened at Cuss Road. They're not telling us about it, right? So unfortunately, they would never listen to me. They would have to get someone with probably a law degree who's a actively working molecular biologist. I can certainly provide advice, but I have a feeling they know what's wrong, right? They need to present it in a way in front of a judge and a jury that, hey, something has gone wrong. Something has gone wrong. So thank you so much for trusting me, but they would never listen to me. Not now, right? They need someone who's an active molecular biologist working now. I'm retired, and probably someone with a law background as well. Thank you so much. I don't recall. What about yourself? How are things coming along?
Going well. Just not sure what we're going to do on Rhonda's next show. We're throwing around a few options, but we'll have something. So
Awesome.
thank you.
Awesome. Did you enjoy today's podcast? I don't recall.
I did. Wow, and I'm not surprised. I'm angry and just angry.
Correct. And guys, can you see why I had to expand John Ferak's chapter? Because if we just read John Ferak's chapter, it would have been, what? But now, by putting in official documents, we've vastly expanded. If he ever writes another book, he needs to include all of this stuff because it'll be dynamite. Thank you so much. I don't recall. Much appreciated.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And next we have Susan.
Hey, Doc. Yeah, as far as Daniel's case, I'll just say we read Giger's closing argument from his trial, his rebuttal closing last week, and it's the worst thing I've ever read. I mean, Kratz is an amateur next to this guy. The way he
I concur.
buried Daniel, the lies he told are just shocking.
Correct. And directly lied. He knew it too. So
many times. And as far as this case, you've got my head spinning a bit, Doc.
Good. That's got to be a good thing, Susan.
Yeah, with the cadaver dogs hitting on the Dassey barrels on the 5th. Correct? Isn't that what you said? My head's spinning a little bit about that. Yeah.
Yep.
And I'll just let y'all know that I actually sent something to KZ that I've been asked to keep quiet about. So.
Oh, okay.
I'll leave it there.
Okay. Thank you, Susan. Thank you so much. Jack 61.
Yeah, today was great. I think that with everything that you and everybody have already presented, this extra addition or these extra parts tell the underlying story about the dogs and the maneuvering that they did to get away with whatever the hell happened at Cuss Road and to bury it. I mean, literally bury it. It's so clear to me.
Yeah.
And it also tells me, Doc, that there's probably a lot of audio that is missing. Of course, we know that a lot of communication took place by cell phone, right?
Yeah.
So
you got it. Yep. You got all the heavy hitters that were down there. All the heavy hitters were down there. And there's a phenomenal amount of activity. You just check in the check-in log sheets. There were canines everywhere. Okay, it was a hive of activity. And we're to believe that it was just a peat moss bag and a pallet. That's it, guys.
No way. No, absolutely no way. You know what? I remember when we first really started learning about Cuss Road, and I questioned it. I'm thinking, well, what the hell are they doing over at Cuss Road? Of course, we really didn't have much of anything at the time. So, it's one of those things that it really kind of got put on the side burner until we found out more. And then the photos, oh my God. It's like, holy shit, what happened to Cuss Road? What's going on here? It was so clear. But anyway, looking forward to next week. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
Job
thank
far.
you so much. Thank you so much.
And tomorrow, 5 Central, we're going to dive back into more radio calls, dispatch calls from Manitowoc, probably maybe a few from Calumet, And it's around this time frame, November 6th, November 7th.
Yep. Yeah. There's clearly a transition point here, Jack 61.
Yep.
Right? Nothing is found of significance after November the 7th, after Cuss Road. Manna from the heaven comes raining down at the
That's
Avery
right.
salvage yard.
That's right.
And everything is found, right? And the dogs are telling a different narrative. The dogs are telling a different story if you pay attention. It's all there. It's all in black and white.
That's right.
Are the dogs perfect? No, they're not. No, they're not. But they're telling a different narrative that the state don't want you to ask. And that's the tragedy of it. Because I believe that the Hallbuck family have been, either they know the truth or they've been lied to. They haven't told the whole truth. I know that's a harsh thing to say.
I don't disagree with you. You know, and I think if we had the rest of the photos that were taken, all of them, not just a few, all of them, along with any, lab work and so forth that's been kept away from us, I think we would have a much fuller story.
A broader picture.
Yeah.
A broader picture. Yep, correct. Thank you so much, Jack 61. And finally, we have my partner in crime, Neverly.
Howdy, partner. Hi. Yeah, this one was so good. And actually, with all the research, all the documents, and all the analysis, there are actually still more questions and very pertinent questions about this case. And this is just one area that we're talking about. And when we move on to, we moved from salvage yard to Cuss Road. And as you said, when we move to different quarries, there's going to be even more questions. And, well, when will this end? I don't know. Not to sound philosophical, but I don't know. Staying positive, of course, staying positive, but something big is missing. Very
Yes.
big. And
Yeah. And hopefully,
we're chipping it away. We're chipping it
we are
away.
chipping it away, and
So
hopefully
stay
we'll find
put,
that
you
missing
guys.
piece.
Yes, stay put.
Yep.
Because, as you said, Sunshine Christina, by a fluke, got that search warrant, right? Then we find Bushman, who never signed in. There was not a report. The state didn't ask him to be a witness. The defense didn't know about him, yet he was the main guy. So there's all these, they're not tiny, but um, they're golden nuggets or Easter eggs that
They
we
are.
keep finding.
Well,
But there's
what we're
so
doing,
many because
we're
this puzzle
collating
is
them.
like 5
We're
million
collating them.
piece puzzle. Yes.
Correct.
Doing it in a tornado.
We're
Yeah.
grabbing those jigsaw pieces. We're building up a picture. And
Yes.
it takes a long time to do it. Remember, the Foul Play team has got many, many years of experience. Jack 61, Susan, and others have worked longer on the case than what I have. And together, collectively as a group, we're bringing in our knowledge, our wisdom, our strengths to build up a picture. And guys in chat, you can see it. It's unfolding in real time. You can see it. You can go back to the original documents. You can read them yourself, right? We're not making this up. It's happening in real time. It's just totally amazing. All right,
Yes,
guys.
and from like 6 or 7 years ago, I'm sorry, Dr. Silkman,
No
when
problem.
we were just starting to find out about this case and, just starting to FOIA and some pictures, how much we have actually changed and have seen a change in what was going on, yet one thing never changed, which was Stephen's account of that day. He never
Correct.
wavered. That
Correct.
stayed a constant. Many
Correct.
other things have changed, and our perspective has changed as well. But
Correct.
that one thing has never.
Correct. And if I could just plug,
Of course.
check out Euriza's interactive map, right? Right, Jack 61, because Euriza's interactive map talks about a lot of the events that we've been talking about. You can follow the dog tracks. You can see where they went. You can see where they found. You can actually see pictures as well. So it's all there, beautifully documented for you. Jack 61.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. For a researcher, it's one of the best tools that you'll find.
It is. It is. And I love digging deep into things. I love going into the documents. finding the testimony, see how it all fits together. And it's remarkable because all the answers are there. It's a matter of finding them, digging them out, and building up a picture and a story. It truly is quite shocking, but we haven't even finished yet. It gets even worse. Well, look, guys, again, I want to thank my esteemed panel for their kindness, wisdom, and their time. Their energy and effort is fantastic. Really love being part of this team. It's awesome. I'd like to thank everyone in chat for coming along and showing us your love and your support. If you like what we do, please subscribe to our channel. There are many other fine YouTubers I like to just quickly mention. Jeff Jones, both Jack61 and myself, we're part of a panel where we're discussing MAM 2 at the moment, where we're giving our wisdom and our comments. Please check out Jeff Jones' channel. Our sister, Just Rhonda, who works tirelessly on the Daniel Holtzclaw case. Make sure you check the latest podcast. That was a really interesting one, looking at the rebuttal from Galen Giga and the rubbish that came out of his mouth. So check that out. Becca Chu, for all her fine work she does for Brendan Dassey. Remarkable work. And also, I like to plug Claire S. Bear, who I did a couple of podcasts on the Alex Murdoch trial. And that was really great. Check those out. And again, guys, if you enjoy what we do, please subscribe. Put your DNA on the thumbs up button, guys. And again, thank you to all our mods and our super mods, our supporters in the channel. Thank you so much. And guys, we will catch you all next week. I'm Dr. Silkman, and I'm from the Foul Play team. Thank you.
This has been a Foul Play production.